aren't Cooey.
Something's different.
I'm changing.
I don't know if I like who I'm becoming.
Boyd, there are a lot of people wanting to know what happened down there.
Mom, where's Dad? Why isn't he back yet?
Tabitha,
We need to talk.
It means everything they showed us. It's real. I think they're doing it to make us afraid.
Well, then it worked. There's something ancient here. And it's feeding off our suffering, and it doesn't stop.
We're losing. We're running out of time, and we still don't know the goddamn rules. There is no way to fight back against those things. Everything we've done, every sacrifice we've made, none of us are going anywhere.
You think you're some kind of hero? You're a monster.
Lord, please protect us in this dark place where evil roams so freely. This we ask in your name. Amen.
One way or another, the truth always comes out.
I would make sure it doesn't.
Okay, ding-dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Eyes and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
And welcome all to Sunday Night Fromville Hour. And here we go, folks. We are getting closer and closer now. We are officially just 1 month away from season 4. 1 month. Officially 1 month. And I have a feeling this last month will probably whip by faster than we know it. I know it has whipped by already. And here we go. We are entering the final 4 weeks, guys. I can't believe it. It is almost here. And I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little off tonight. I have recently come down with COVID. So I'm a little out of it, but it is Sunday. I was not about to cancel the stream. I'm going to soldier on through it, and we are going to dive into all things season 4, including the mysterious cave drawings and what Jade might encounter while down in the caves in season 4. But here we go, folks. 1 month away. Can you guys believe it? 1 month away. Here we go. 1 month away. Let's see what we got in the chat. We got Kiwi Scarrett hanging out with us. What is up, Kiwi? Welcome. Good to see you. I see Anon in the house. Welcome, Anon. Good to see you as well. I see Bill D. What is up, Bill D? Good to see you as well. Welcome. Good to see you. I see Miss Joan in the house. What is up, Miss Joan? Good to see you as well. Welcome one. Welcome all. Welcome, everybody. I see Howdy Helen in the house. What is up, Howdy Helen? Good to see you as well. Welcome. I see Incognito is here as well. Welcome, Incognito. I saw some great posts in the Discord this week. Definitely got to be there. You miss so much if you're not reading these posts. I mean, Bill D says it true. There's so much good stuff in the Discord. It never ceases to amaze me, the intricate details in terms of some of the theories that you'll find in the Discord. Some of the funnest stuff that you'll read from related, you'll find in that Discord. So yeah, I 100% agree with you, Bill D. If you're not in the Discord, if you're not diving into all of those awesome theories with everybody else, you're definitely missing out. It's definitely probably one of the biggest hubs, I guess you could say, of from fan theories, and it's a ton of fun. I'm super thankful for what you guys have turned that Discord in, and what you guys have turned that Discord into, and that 100% is 100,000,000% all thanks to you guys. But yeah, it's so fun. It's always so fun. I mean, even if there's no streams going on, there's always something going on in the Discord in terms of talking from. It's really turned into something pretty cool. Pretty cool. Super proud of that. Super thankful for that. So thank you guys. Keep it up. Keep the Discord Fromville talk going. We got Pam Jam in the house. Welcome, Pam Jam. Good to see you as well. Welcome, Pam Jam. We got Official Rico Finesser in the house. Welcome, Official Rico Finesser. We got David in the house. What is up, David? Good to see you as well. Welcome. I see Katie Joe in the house. Welcome, Katie Joe. Good to see you as well. I see Big Heck and Golden Child. What is up to Big Heck and Golden Child, my pals? Welcome one. Welcome all. I see Nicole Lane in the house. What is up, Nicole Lane? This is the best end to a Sunday. Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. I mean, Sunday is, it's always been kind of the day where we usually like to go live. We've been doing it for a while. And yeah, it's just a nice end to the week. I know I certainly like to end my week off on diving into some From with each and every one of you. And it's always a fun way to end my week. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying it, then I'm definitely very much appreciating it. Very much appreciating everybody show up. And apologies if I have to mute every once in a while to cough. Again, I did recently come down with a nasty COVID cold. But we're going to push through. We are going to soldier on nonetheless. Let's see who else we got. Scrolling down. I see Samuel's in the house. What is up, Samuel? I see Bill Chill's in the house. Welcome, Bill. Good to see you guys. Welcome, everybody. I see Inside the Squared Circle. Welcome. Oh, and thank you for that. Appreciate that, Anon. I definitely will. Yeah, I'll be good as new in a few days. This probably won't be the 2 to 3 hour long streams like we usually do, but definitely going to do another one probably in a few days once I'm feeling a little bit better, and that one will be much longer if this one doesn't go too long tonight. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. COVID made me pretty sick. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, I mean, this isn't my first time getting it, unfortunately. I think we're at the point now where just about everybody I know has gotten it multiple times at this point. So if you're one of the rare individuals that has made it this long and you haven't gotten it, then kudos to you, because you are few and far between. But yeah, it's not the first time I've had it. I mean, it's really just a bad cold, really, at the end of the day. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but just really a bad cold. But thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate that. Thank you. Cave drawing, red squid. Someone posted in the Discord that this red cave drawing was Smiley Reborn when he was standing up before who broke out of it. And that has been a pretty popular theory ever since season 3 aired. And we saw what Smiley kind of was birthed out of, the cocoon, this chrysalis, this embryo that he was kind of born out of. A lot of people have paused it. If you pause it just at the right moment, just before Smiley's about to kind of like break the surface and break out of it, if you pause it just at the right moment, the shape does kind of resemble this red symbol. So I do understand where that theory came from. Like, I understand why a lot of people bring that theory up because the shapes are very similar. Again, you have to pause it at just the right moment at the end of season 3 when Smiley's just getting ready to emerge. But if you pause it at just the right moment, it's almost the exact same shape as this, like really close to it. So I think that's where a lot of those theories are coming from, in terms of this red symbol potentially being the representation of Smiley's rebirth. But who knows? I mean, it's a good theory, but we don't really know anything for sure. But yeah, I mean, this has definitely been the subject of so much discussion from the very beginning. What is the red symbol? I mean, as the series has gone on, we've learned a little bit more about the rest of this cave wall. we finally learned about what the symbol that Jade was seeing. We see what right below it, what appears to be a representation of the sacrifice. You got the stones, the Ankui children. So a lot of this cave painting can kind of be interpreted in some ways, but the big red symbol is still a massive question mark. There really isn't a whole lot to go on, but the smiley theory has become, anyway, a pretty popular theory ever since season 3 ended, when people saw that shape and how much it resembled this shape. So I think that's where a lot of that comes from. But yeah, who knows? Who knows if that's really what this is meant to represent? We really don't know. Again, it's a really good theory, but we don't really know anything definitively yet. But let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about this red symbol? Do you think it could be a representation of that smiley rebirth moment, or do you guys think it's going to be something else? A lot of people seem to think it's going to be some kind of red Cthulhu type monster. That's been a huge theory ever since season 1. There's so many theories surrounding this red symbol. Again, a lot of them are really good, but in terms of what we actually know definitively, we don't really know much. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think the smiley theory holds any weight, or are people just seeing shapes in the clouds? Maybe that's the thing with the show. Sometimes you look a little bit deeper at things that maybe we were never meant to look deeper at. And this could potentially be another one of those instances where it just happened to be a coincidence that the smiley rebirth scene had a similar shape to this. It might not be that. It could just be a coincidence. And that's what's interesting about From. It's hard to know until you know. But the theories are fun nonetheless. The theories are definitely fun nonetheless. Yeah, I couldn't smell anything for like a week or two after that was the worst part of it for me. Not just the no smelling, but the no tasting part for me, Samuel. I don't know if you experienced this. But for me, that what was even worse than not being able to smell anything was not being able to taste anything. Because I love food. I'm a third generation Italian from a long line of Italians. We like our food. So yeah, not being able to taste when I had it was the worst part of it for me. It's like, fuck. But yeah, I've had it 3 times. Ooh, that is tough, Blue. 3 times. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. I'm glad you pulled through, though. Very glad you pulled through. We got Nikki. We got Nicole Panda for 7 months. Has been a member for 7 months. Hey, milestone chat. What is up, Fromily? Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, Nikki Panda, for being a member for 7 months now. Holy cow, that is absolutely insane. That is absolutely insane. And thank you so much for being a member for 7 months. And it looks like we have just gifted 5 memberships to the channel. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 memberships gifted to the channel. Wow. Thank you so much for that. That is incredibly generous of you. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 memberships. And of course, to everyone who is a new member, and thank you so much, Nikki Panda, for that. For anyone who is a new member, we have custom Fromville emojis available to you. I have brand new custom season 4 ones, all new ones for season 4 that I've been meaning to upload. But I kind of forgot about it. I'll be honest. I forgot it after I got sick. There's been a lot going on, unfortunately. But I will definitely get them uploaded for the next stream. That is my promise. I got some really good ones. And we did get a request for a scarecrow emoji. And I think I got a pretty good one. And I believe that was Dieter. I believe it was Dieter who requested the scarecrow emoji. I think I made a pretty good one. So hopefully you guys will like that. But thank you so much, Nikki, for the gift of the 5 memberships. Very much appreciate that. Very much appreciate that. And if nothing else, I owe you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's the octopus from Bond representing Spectre. Yeah, it's the crossover we've all been waiting for, right, Thomas? The From James Bond crossover that we have all been dying for. But hey, if nothing else, I imagine James Bond could probably survive at least for a few nights in Fromville. I mean, he's James frickin' Bond. The guy can adapt to almost anything, right? That would be interesting, though. I wonder if James Bond could survive in Fromville. I think he could. I think he could. I think he could figure it out. I think he's smart and tough enough to figure it out. But who knows? Who knows? The person broke the cave drawings into the 5 seasons. Season 1, arrival, yep, symbolized by the boat. Season 2, symbolized Season 2, the symbol. Season 3, the red monster, Smiley. Season 4, the massacre. Season 5, going home. And I like that. I like breaking it down into grids, especially, I mean, usually cave symbols like this are usually meant to be read left to right. So that would make sense. I mean, we see the boats here on the left, and that does kind of signal an arrival into Fromville. And that's what these whole cave symbols do kind of represent. I don't know if so much they represent the 5 seasons. I feel like so much as they represent a cycle. This is a representation of a full cycle from start to finish, the whole cycle and everything that happens. With it ending with the infinity symbol that's just off over here to the distance, the last symbol that we come across, the infinity symbol, which kind of sets the loop all over again. So it seems like it's a representation of like the actual cycles that Fromville is kind of going through. But separating it through seasons is also very interesting, because that does kind of fit, like as you just described, that does also kind of fit. In terms of with season 1 being the arrival, season 2 being the symbol, season 3 being Smiley, season 4 being a potential massacre, maybe. And maybe this is what that is potentially meant to represent, a massacre. This, with all the red figures, and with the figures being in red instead of white. With the last season being the infinity symbol, being the loop starting over again. So there's so many cool ways that you can kind of interpret some of these cave symbols. And, I always love hearing everybody's theories on it. Everybody always comes up with some really interesting things. But no, I like that idea. I like the idea that it's potentially representing, each section is potentially representing a season. I think that's a cool idea. I think that's a pretty cool idea. I rewatched the interview with the cast and 2 creators, and they insist on the fact that it's a psychological thriller too. I mean, and I wouldn't disagree with that in the slightest. And that's why I always kind of like to bring up, as much as we love the mystery aspect of the show, which we do. I mean, the mystery aspect is great. And of course, we want to get all the answers. But the most important part of this show is the characters. It's the characters and the journeys that they are going on. And that is where the psychological thriller of it comes into play. Like, yeah, of course, the mystery is a huge draw. It's a huge reason why the show is popular. But the mystery is hopefully is what draws you in. But what keeps you around, hopefully, is the characters, is the, getting invested in these characters and the journeys that they are going on. Yeah, of course, you want the mysteries to be solved. But for me, it's definitely much more about the psychological journey that the characters themselves are going on. So yeah, I think when they say that, I think that's kind of what they mean, where yes, even though it is shrouded in mystery, these characters are at the core of the story. At the core of the story, following these characters in their journeys is what really matters. And I think that is what is to kind of be taken away from that. And I think that fits where it is very much a psychological thriller in terms of, instead of just a straight up supernatural mystery. This is not just a supernatural mystery by any means. And I like that. I like that. Again, I like the mystery aspect of it, but following the journey that these characters go on, it's just so fun, especially when you have a good cast like this, with actors and actresses that really just kill their scenes in every single episode. Watching Boyd go on this journey where he's getting weaker and weaker, losing control more and more every season, doing everything he can to hold on to the little bit that he has left that he loves. There's so much in the show that you can kind of see and relate to, that you see in everyday life. But even apart from that, it's just good storytelling. At the end of the day, it's just good storytelling. And yeah, the mystery aspect is definitely a part of that for sure. But the characters are the core of it, at least in my opinion. But yeah, definitely heavily psychological aspects to the show for sure. For sure. Let's see what else we got. I hope the season they focus on Victor's drawings, because they are his memories that can help solve what's happening. And I think they will. I think we saw a little bit of that in the season 4 trailer. It seems like Victor, or I mean, we assume that it's Victor's drawing of the man in yellow that we see in the trailer, because it's very much in the same style that Victor always draws in. But we also have to remember that Eloise also made drawings that looked exactly like that as well. So while it's probably Victor's drawing, there's always a possibility that it could be Eloise's as well, I guess is the point. But yeah, it looks like we are going to see at one point Victor is going to start digging up some old drawings of, either his or Eloise's, in hopes of trying to kind of bring back a memory or confirm a memory. And it looks like it all starts when he sees the man in yellow's coat. We get that one little scene in the season 4 trailer where Victor, Jade, Ethan, and Tabitha are in the woods, and they come across the man in yellow's jacket just laying on the ground. And you can see the look on Victor's face when he's looking down on it. You see the look of like dread in his eyes, it looks like, when he's looking at this coat. And I think when he sees that coat, I think that's the moment, that's the very moment that unlocks some kind of memory. And I think that is what sends him to the peach truck to start digging, like we also see in the trailer. And he eventually unearths the drawing of the man in yellow. I have a feeling it's probably going to go down a little bit like that, because that's usually how Victor's memories come back to him. He sees a little something that triggers it. Like in season 1, Victor completely shut out the entire memory of the massacre. Like he didn't even really remember it. If you go back to season 1, episode 4, Victor hears the dog barking. And as soon as he hears the dog barking, he has a flashback to the massacre. And then he runs back to Colony House, searching frantically for the drawing of the massacre, so he can confirm that the massacre was actually real and not just a memory. So we see that there are triggers to Victor's memories coming back, little things that he sees that bring these memories back. And I think he's going to see the man in yellow's coat on the ground, and that's what's going to bring that memory back, that he apparently made a drawing of the man in yellow at some point. Which is very interesting, because the drawing itself has the man in yellow with a big old smile on his face coming out of a freaking car, which has kind of prompted a lot of theories in terms of what's going on there. But nonetheless, very interesting. Yeah, here's the drawing of the massacre that Victor goes back to Colony House in season 1 to search for, to confirm that the massacre was actually real. So yeah, I mean, he's been doing this ever since season 1. I mean, I think some people see the Eloise scene, and they think that's the first memory that came back for Victor, but that's not the case. The first memory that comes back for Victor is all the way back in season 1, when he remembers the massacre. When it happens with Eloise, that's the second time it happens for him. But yeah, I think they're definitely going to focus heavily on Victor. I mean, Victor's still so mysterious. There's still so much about Victor that we don't know. I mean, if he spent 40 plus years in this place by himself, I mean, who knows what kind of encounters he's had with who knows what, the man in yellow included. So yeah, I think we're going to get a heavy dose of Victor drawings leading to some of Victor's memories coming back, which in turn is going to give us some interesting answers. We got Nikki Panda for another $6.99. Thank you so much, Nikki Panda. Very much appreciate that. Did the writers/directors say that all the answers are in the pilot episode? Obligatory Spidergate. I don't believe I ever heard them say that. No. I don't believe I ever heard them specifically say that all the answers are in the pilot. I believe they said the answers are at the beginning. I believe that was how they worded it. But I don't believe they ever specified that like all of the answers are directly in the pilot, unless that's something I missed. And if I did, definitely send me a link to a clip or where I can see that. But no, I don't remember them specifically saying pilot episode. But thank you so much for the $6.99. Very, very much appreciate that. Very, very much appreciate that. I owe you another applause. There we go. But yeah, psychology, the psychological aspect, definitely a heavy proponent for the show, for sure. for sure. Definitely a heavy, heavy part of the show. So is the mystery. It's not like the mystery isn't a big part of the show. Obviously, it is. But the psychological aspect of it is just as big of a part, if not bigger. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Let's dive into some more of these cave paintings and let us know what you guys think. What is going on with these cave paintings? Yeah, I like the idea of the seasons. I think that's a pretty cool idea. And again, I also like the idea of it representing the cycles, which is pretty similar to it kind of representing each season, because each season that we're watching is also a cycle being played out. So it's kind of a similar interpretation in some ways. But yeah, I always kind of thought it was a nice representation of the cycle that they go through. And if this does represent Smiley's rebirth, then I mean, yeah, that kind of would fit, at least in terms of the timeline of the events, in terms of events happening from left to right. And that's, as usually cave paintings like this are usually drawn in red left to right. Which makes sense. It starts at the left. We see the arrival, literally the arrival in the beginning, the sacrifice, the rebirth, maybe. But I don't know. Again, I'm not 100% convinced that this is the representation of Smiley's rebirth. I mean, it could be. Again, I think it's a really cool theory. And it's, again, if you pause that scene at just the right moment, it does kind of make like almost this exact shape. But part of me is starting to wonder if that's just coincidence. Like, are we seeing just shapes in the clouds maybe, and maybe it means something else? I don't know. Not quite sure there. But again, so many theories surrounding this red symbol, and we always love hearing them. Always love hearing some theories on what this red symbol could potentially be. Let's see. Yeah, remember, live and let die, Bond might survive. Again, you throw James Bond into Fromville, Samuel, he just might survive. I mean, look what happened to Boyd. Boyd has, similar kind of military background training. I'd argue Bond probably has even more training. I mean, Bond is a special agent at the end of the day. He's very highly trained. So yeah, I think you throw James Bond into Fromville, I think he survives, at least for a little bit. At least for a little bit. I guess it's really a matter of, do you throw him in with talismans or without talismans? I guess is the question. But I mean, he's James Bond. He always tends to survive. So yeah, maybe he could. Maybe he could. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down, and welcome, PM. I think PM might be joining us here in a little bit. Welcome. Let's see what else we got. For Easter, we should all watch the Resurrection of Smiley together. Oh, I mean, that might be a good episode to watch. That is actually one of the episodes that they recommend that we do watch, actually. MGM came out with a post sometime last week, and they recommended, I believe it was like 10 different episodes that they recommended that people watch before season 4 comes around. And Smiley's Rebirth is one of the episodes that's on the list. So yeah, maybe when we get to like the week before season 4 gets here, or like 2 weeks before season 4 gets here, maybe we'll do some watch parties and we'll watch those 10 episodes, the 10 episodes that they recommend to kind of, lead into season 4. We'll do a rewatch of those episodes. Yeah, I believe it was 10, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they recommended like 10 episodes that fans should watch to kind of refresh before heading into season 4. And unfortunately, you kind of need refreshers. When shows like this are off air for as long as they're off air nowadays, unfortunately, you kind of do need that refresher. You do kind of need that little rewatch, even if it's only going back to rewatch the previous season finale, just to kind of get the gist of where the season left off and have everything kind of come back to you, as you're watching that. When these shows are off for a year and a half, 2 years in between seasons, you need a refresher course, because it's been so freaking long. So yeah, we'll definitely do some kind of rewatch where we rewatch the episodes that they recommend. The recommended episodes. Let's see what else we got. I watch channels with from Virgins, and it's crazy how much season 1 foreshadows the rest. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's always what's so fun about shows like this, shows that do have that mystery box aspect to them. Anytime a new season comes out, yeah, you're going to be able to go back to previous seasons and you're going to see things from a totally different perspective. You're always going to have different context when you go back and do a rewatch because you're going to have more information. As you get more information, as the story continues to kind of advance, and as we learn more about what Fromville really is, these monsters, the children, everything that's going on here, yeah, every season that came prior to that is going to be looked at in a different kind of point of view when you go back and rewatch it, because you're going to have all this different context for stuff that you didn't have context for the first time around. So yeah, it is. It's always fun to go back and rewatch season 1 and see just like how much has been foreshadowed right from the freaking very beginning. And that shows a good kind of, it shows me that they had a plan, that they weren't just saying they had a plan. They had a plan from the very beginning and they've been following that plan. And if you can kind of go back to earlier seasons and kind of see the roadmap a little bit better, then that tells me that they are following the plan that they've had from the very beginning. And that gives me some confidence that they know where they're going with it, that they're not just winging it. So that'll be good. But yeah, it's always fun to go back and rewatch the earlier seasons after a new season airs. You get to see tons of stuff that you didn't see the first time. Let's see what else we got. I have no idea what to expect from season 4. Craziness, I think. Yeah, I think craziness is probably a pretty good bet in terms of what to expect from season 4. I think this is very much going to be the craziest season we've gotten yet. So I think, yeah, I think that's very safe to say. I heard Julie's famous scream had Ethan crying on set. Really? Interesting. I don't think I heard that, but take your word for it. That's for sure. But yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, and having to scream like that over and over and over again on a set repeatedly for weeks on end, filming episode after episode after episode. Eesh, I can only imagine the kind of toll that takes on an actor's voice. Like, oh man, that must be rough. By the time the season's over. Yes, in my opinion, Victor's drawings are sort of like a blueprint / compass. Yeah, a lot of them are. Like, you see a lot of these, and that's really where you see a lot of the foreshadowing come from. That's actually a good source of a lot of it, is Victor's drawings. You see all these drawings in his room and all these other drawings that have been, flashed in the intro sequence or in other episodes. And yeah, you go back and look at them after seeing, season 3, and it's like, okay, that's what that was referring to. That's what that was foreshadowing. And yeah, it is. It acts as a little mini kind of blueprint in terms of certain things that we're going to see later on in the series. So yeah, the Victor's drawings are always fun to go back and analyze. Always fun. Victor's drawings and the drawings in the Peach truck, the map in the Peach truck. Those are two of the things that are always super fun to kind of go back and reanalyze every time a new season is out. Because you feel like you're always getting new context for things and you can kind of maybe find something new. Let's see what else we got. One thing was Ethan first calling that From isn't a vacation, as Jim tried to deflect, but Ethan says it's a quest. Okay, yeah, I remember that. We would probably have to save someone before we can leave. Yeah, again, another very heavy foreshadowing. I mean, and right there from season 1, episode 2, we hear Ethan talking about how this is a quest and how everyone here has a part to play, a specific part to play. And the closer you get to the end, that's when it gets the scariest. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us saw that line from Ethan, that scene from Ethan, and took that as a blueprint of sorts, a loose blueprint as to how the show is ultimately going to play out. And I think we've seen, as every new season comes out, those words have been proven more and more true, that this very much is a quest. And Ethan did kind of lay out the very blueprint of how the whole show is going to go.
That's what this is, the quest. And everyone has a part to play. Sometimes the quest can be scary. And when it gets close to the end, that's when it gets really scary.
And when you get close to the end, that's when it gets really scary. Well, it looks like we are officially close to the end, as season 4 is the beginning of the end. So it looks like it's going to get, looks like we're at that part. Looks like we are at that part that Ethan was talking about, when it's going to get the scariest. Star says, I'm tired of Victor. Why don't they all just start digging the whole place up and see what the heck is going on? I mean, I suppose that is one way to kind of cut through the heart of the problem. I mean, there is a lot of manpower in Fromville. We saw at the funeral, we counted how many people were present at the funeral in the season 4 trailer, and there's at least 43 people in the town. And that's not including the few people that weren't at the funeral. Like Jade wasn't there, Sarah wasn't there, I believe a few others weren't there. So yeah, there's close to 50 people in Fromville. So that, I mean, that's a decent sized workforce. You want to spread around, you know, you separate everyone into grids and start digging. Who knows what you're going to find? Who knows what you're going to find? But yeah, I think this will be the season where Victor uncovers more than he has in any previous season. I have to imagine this is going to be that season where we do start to get the bigger definitive answers. But who knows? I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. The Man in Yellow will turn into a character we maybe don't know. I mean, I suppose that's a possibility as well. Someone in my comment section the other day actually brought up an interesting idea that they thought Sophia might be the Man in Yellow in disguise. And while I thought, you know, while I like interesting out-of-the-box theories like this, I feel like Sophia traveling with her father kind of, you know, poked a hole in it for me personally. Like if Sophia was like arriving by herself, I would think, okay, that's actually maybe a pretty good disguise. The Man in Yellow disguising himself as a new arrival. But seeing as Sophia was with her father, it makes it a little more difficult there. But again, I mean, sometimes I like fun out of the box theories sometimes. But yeah, sometimes you have to kind of look at the surrounding circumstances. And you know, with Sophia not being alone, it makes it a little more difficult for her to be anything other than Sophia. And again, I think this Sophia character is going to have a pretty important role to play. If based on the official synopsis of season 4, anyway, the one official statement that we have gotten from John Griffin, talking about, you know, specifically bringing up and what kind of role the new arrival in town is going to play in the upcoming events. So this new character, Sophia, she's coming into the show, and it definitely seems like she's going to be, you know, a pretty big player, a pretty big series regular, at least from here on out. So yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what role she's going to play ultimately. What is Sophia's narrative purpose going to be? I guess you could say. Let's see what else we got. I remember that Ethan was saying quest, but not the second part about having to save someone before we can leave. Yeah, Ethan doesn't say you have to save someone before you can leave. Ethan just says that you have to complete the quest, and that the closer you get to the quest, the closer you get to the end of the quest, that's when it gets the scariest, and how everyone has a part to play. That Ethan doesn't specifically say that he doesn't specifically say that we need to save someone, though. He just says that we need to complete a quest, that we're here to complete a quest. But yeah, it seems like saving someone is the quest, though. At least if we are to take the boy in white at his word, that saving the children is what ultimately will bring people home, is what will ultimately free people. And then maybe saving the children is the ultimate quest. And I know that seems to be one of the more popular theories heading into season 4, that saving the children is what they ultimately need to do, because that is what we've been told, at least so far up until this point. But yeah, we shall see. Seems like all Fromville residents entered as somewhat decent human beings. And that was one thing that was always pretty interesting. We talked about this a few weeks ago. And up until this point, it seems like we haven't really seen like like a straight up evil person enter Fromville yet. And I always thought that was very interesting how everyone that gets pulled into Fromville, yeah, they kind of all are, for the most part, pretty decent people. I know people like to point to like Randall, but even Randall isn't an evil individual. I mean, even Randall is a good individual at heart. We saw the kind of actions that Randall was taking when he first arrived in Fromville. He was the first one to raise his hand to help Jim to dig his wife out. You know, we've seen Randall step up more than once where he does have the capacity in him to kind of, you know, commit a heroic act every once in a while. Yes, he's very selfish. Like Randall is a selfish character, and I think he lets his fear and his selfishness get the better of him sometimes. But Randall's not an evil individual. And that's one thing that's been very interesting. We haven't really seen any like straight up evil people get brought into Fromville. All of the humans that get stuck here, yeah, they're all somewhat decent, as you said. And I always thought that was very interesting. I always thought that was very interesting that Fromville is kind of making sure not to bring anyone in here that's too nefarious, I guess you could say. And I suppose it makes sense. They got enough to deal with all these monsters and man in yellows and freaking living scarecrows and whatever else is out there that I suppose they don't need to be worrying about like dragging in a freaking serial killer into Fromville or something. But yeah, I have noticed that as well. It seems like most of the people that get stuck here are somewhat decent. Again, they're certainly not all perfect, but we haven't really seen any kind of evil people get stuck here. That's true. That is true. Let's see what else we got. The psychology. Victor had his revelation when he realized he caused his mother's death. I think it will also happen with the main characters realizing they are the monsters reincarnated. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. And it is all, again, just for me personally, it is always fun to kind of dive into the psychological aspect of it. And I know you're similar in a sense, David, where you like the kind of the symbolism and the psychological aspects behind some of this stuff too. And for me, that's just some of the most fascinating stuff. I love diving into what this does to these characters' psyche, what this has done to Victor in particular, what it has done to his psyche. We had the awesome, wonderful Doug Hughes in the chat the other day, the actor who plays the Man in Yellow, and he said he thinks Scott McCord's character is the toughest job on the show. Playing Victor is the toughest job on the show, and I agreed with him. And I've said similar sentiments in the past, where you know the whole cast is phenomenal, but you see the kind of character that Scott McCord is playing. That is definitely probably the toughest role I can imagine that is on that show, to be able to kind of get to that nuanced place where you are able to kind of convey that level of trauma, that level of isolation, that level of guilt, that level of fear, everything that is bottled up within Victor, everything that Scott McCord portrays so well. And that's some of the funnest parts of for me, is diving into the psychological aspects of what this place has done to some of these characters, like your Victors. And Boyd too. Boyd is another fascinating case study when it comes to his psychology. And it comes to when you think about some of the things that he's been forced to do, some of the decisions that he has been forced to make, like killing his own wife to save his son, like such a fascinating study into just the basic human condition when it comes to the psychology of these characters. And for me, that part is just as fun as the mystery, is seeing what this place is psychologically doing to these people. And we're seeing that it's taking its toll. This place is very much taking its toll by the time we're getting to season 4 now. Even Boyd himself is showing signs of cracking. So yeah, it's, the psychological aspects of the show are so fun to dive into. We got Nikki Panda for another $2.79. Thank you so much, Nikki Panda. Welcome, Man in Yellow at Doug. Okay, I'm a little bit behind on the chat. I'm trying to catch up right now. So if he is down there, welcome, Doug. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Always fun to see Doug. Doug's the freaking coolest, the absolute coolest. And we have a new member of the channel in Katie Joe 9684. Thank you so much, Katie Joe 9684, for becoming a new member of the channel. And of course, you have access to all of the custom Fromville emojis that we have down there. And thank you so much for becoming a member of the Fromily family. Appreciate it. But yeah, long story short, David, 100% agree with you, man. I love diving into the psychological aspect of some of these characters. It is super fun. Why would it focus only on Smiley? I think it means something else, and that is actually a really good point to make, Miss Joan. In terms of, I believe you're referring to the red symbol. Like, why would Smiley's rebirth be a big enough event in order to kind of warrant this big of a spot on the wall? And I think that's an interesting question. Yeah, I don't know. I think I think there's a good argument to be made for and against. We've seen a lot of the theories out there, and a lot of them are good on both sides. But I myself, I don't know. Again, I see where people get it from, but if they are trying to convey that the monsters have been cursed, if the monsters have been just completely cursed to always be reborn as these monsters, you could kind of maybe understand or warrant that having a spot on the wall, because it is kind of a big part of their story that they can't die, they'll always come back. So I don't know if it's necessary, like if it is anyway meant to represent a Smiley rebirth. I don't think it's necessarily meant to represent Smiley specifically, more as the rebirth of a monster in general. Just showcasing that, symbolizing the rebirth of the monsters. Not so much Smiley himself, but symbolizing that the monsters do get reborn if they get killed. But then again, I'm not quite sure if I believe that's what this symbol is representing. Who knows? I like all the theories that are swirling around out there. I think all the theories are super fun. But in terms of like definitive actual information, we really don't know. We have no idea what this thing means. But yeah, again, the theories out there are fun. But welcome, PM. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I see that you guys started talking about the red Cthulhu figure.
Yep. And which I did bring up a little earlier, that a lot of people do call it exactly that, the red Cthulhu figure. A lot of people seem to think that it might symbolize some kind of red Cthulhu deity type monster, which it very well could.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that it's Smiley's rebirth. The only
That's
reason
weird.
why I don't think that that's what it is because it's so prominent. So
Yeah.
when we look at the wall, it's bigger than the symbol itself. It's bigger than the ritual. So that makes me think if it's so prominent, then it's probably an indication of something else, something bigger,
Something
right?
bigger.
And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it is.
Yeah. No, I think that would be, again, I like we were saying earlier, before you arrived, I understand like where the Smiley theories come from. Like, if you pause that scene at just the right moment, Smiley being reborn does kind of make this very similar kind of shape and symbol. So I understand where the Smiley theory came from. But yeah, no, I kind of tend to agree with you. And I think Miss Joan brought up something similar in the chat earlier in terms of like, does Smiley's rebirth warrant having this much of a prominent place on the spot of the caves? And if it were to be Smiley's rebirth, I would think that maybe it's not Smiley's rebirth. Maybe it's meant to represent just the monster's rebirth in general. But I'm still not sure if I even buy that. Again, I mean, this just might be a giant symbol that means nothing at the end of the day. I hope that isn't the case. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, a lot of really good theories out there, but we don't really know anything definitive yet.
Yeah, we don't know anything. It really could be, from the theories that we have, it could be anything, right?
Could be anything.
But it's really fun to theorize and see what
Yeah.
more than likely it would be. And I
Yeah.
just don't think that it would be so prominent and then have them say, oh, that was nothing. That was just Smiley.
Yeah.
I just don't think so.
Yeah. And to get a
So
sense
I
of just
see that you
how
have the men in yellow in the chat.
we do. Yes, we do. We have the awesome one and only man in yellow himself in the chat, Doug himself. And I was bringing up earlier, I was right before you got here, I was mentioning what Doug mentioned last time, because David Eigel in the chat mentioned the psychological aspects of From, and I was talking about how fun it really is to kind of dive into the psychology of From and the psychological aspects of what this place does to some of these characters. And I was reiterating what Doug said last week when we were live in terms of Scott McCord having the most difficult job on the entire cast in terms of the character of Victor, and how much I agreed with him. But yeah, I love the nuance of Victor and the psychological aspect of diving into some of these characters. But in terms of the size, just to give a better kind of reference, a better kind of proportion, so you can see just how big this red symbol is. This is how big these symbols are. It's really hard to gauge the scale of how big the symbols are from the actual show and from those images that were released. But I've always loved this image right here because it perfectly illustrates just how massive these symbols really are. Like, here's a regular human being, and here's the symbol. It is absolutely ginormous. So I've always loved this symbol that gives it that proper proportion.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? Something about it is
Massive.
grand. It's grand. So it makes me think that this is probably the creatures, the entity, the ancient beings' real form. It's not a human form. Maybe he likes the human form of the man in yellow in the same way that the entity that is it, Pennywise, really likes or has a liking for Bob Gray, the human. So perhaps it has a human form that it tends to go towards, but its real form is something that we can't conceive as. So
Uh,
this figure would be perfect for that.
ah.
I'm really hoping that that's what it is.
No, that would be very interesting. Very interesting. Some kind of some kind of Lovecraftian type eldritch abomination that can't even really be comprehended. That is just this is the representation of it. Some kind of big, dark, menacing representation of it, just to get across how formidable it seems. And again, when you see it in this photo, it does. It's giant. It's big. It looks very foreboding. But yeah, I don't know. I've always just really liked this photo in terms of giving it its proper kind of proportion in terms of how big it is. Because I think someone saw in the chat that they thought the symbol was like 5 inches, and I don't think you're alone. I think it was Katie Joe. Wow, I thought it was about 5 inches, and yeah, I don't think you're alone. I mean, even I myself thought they were way smaller than this. Like you see them in season 1 when Victor kind of shines the light on him, but Victor and Tabitha are standing very far away from them, and it's a very wide shot. It's not a very close-up shot, so it's really hard to gauge the proportion in season 1 of just how big these cave symbols are. But this photo perfectly illustrates just how massive they are. And yeah, I mean, I imagine, if you haven't seen this photo, they definitely seem a lot smaller in the show and in some of the other photos. For sure.
Yeah, that's funny to think that it's like a tiny little 5-inch figure. It definitely would not mean as much, right? If it was like a tiny little depiction of it.
Yeah.
Um, And it's funny because when we think of ancient scary deities, we think of them as like this grand, big things like the man in yellow, right? He seems so scary. But if they were like tiny little figures, we probably wouldn't think of them as terrifying as we do. Now that we know more about the story, I think it's interesting to go back and look at everything. Look at the
Mhm.
depictions of the little humans to see if maybe something starts making sense because we have
Mhm.
more information now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as season 4 starts to come out, I get the feeling we're going to be able to dive into these cave symbols much, 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 much more and get a much better understanding of them. Someone in the chat earlier brought up that someone had an idea that the cave symbols could be kind of split from season to season, like each section of each section of the cave represents a season, with season 1 being the arrival, season 2 being the symbol, season 3 being Smiley's rebirth, season 4 being the massacre, I believe their theory was. And I thought that was kind of interesting. For me, when I look at these cave symbols, I almost feel like it almost looks like a representation of a cycle. of the cycles repeating over and over again, how it starts from left to right with the arrival, the sacrifice, whatever this means. And when you get to the very end, we get to the last symbol, which is that infinity symbol, which indicates a reoccurring loop. So part of me always thought that maybe this was a depiction of the actual cycles, and we just need to find out what the rest of these represent, which we probably will in seasons 4 and 5, I would imagine.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Um, the cycles. Okay, so what cycle would we be in then?
It's just a cycle in general, just representing the repeating cycle, not any one specific one, just representing the cycles in general. I mean, this could be a depiction of the very first depiction of events. If the monsters themselves drew these, then this is the monsters telling their story. This is the monsters writing down their story. That's what it looks like anyway.
That's
So
a
I would
really
say,
good question, Jeremy, because we haven't asked who created the depictions on the cave.
well,
Was it the monsters?
According to Victor, Victor said the monsters drew this. According to Victor, anyway.
Really? I don't recall him saying
Yeah,
specifically
he
that the
said
monsters wrote
when
this
he and
down.
Tabitha are down there, he says, "Look, they make drawings too," and he points at the
Hmm.
cave. So if we're to believe Victor, the monsters are the ones who drew these, and that tells me that this is them writing down their story.
Okay, I would have to agree with that. And it also tells me that maybe they are not free to speak. If you are depicting, right? You're writing your story without language and you're using just symbols. Maybe they're not allowed to have a flowing conversation where they can talk to the townspeople and tell
Uh-huh.
them what exactly happened, who they are, and what the deal was, what they need to do to break this deal that they basically made with the devil of sorts.
Mhm.
Um, and when we hear them speak, they're limited to trying to get you to open the door and lying to you, but they can't really tell you the story. And if so, that means that even if they were to capture a monster, the monster wouldn't be free to just disclose everything that they went through. If they're doing these little drawings, it tells me they're not free to tell you what actually would free them, how they could get out of the deal, what could break the curse, if you will.
Mhm. Maybe, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, again, we really don't know what the rules are, what rules that they have to follow. One thing that the show did kind of set up pretty early on, we hear them talking about it a lot in the behind the scenes stuff, is how Fromville operates according to a set of rules. We hear Boyd always talking about, we don't know the rules yet. We don't know the rules yet. And even the creators talking about, there are rules that in which Fromville operates. But we don't know them yet. And that's the thing. We need to find out, what are these rules, these quote unquote rules, and what are the rules that the monsters have to follow. And a lot of people wonder if that's why the monsters don't come out during the day. Maybe it's not so much that they can't come out during the day, in terms of it's not like the sun will burn them to smithereens or anything. Maybe it's one of those quote unquote rules where the monsters can only come out at night type thing, part of their curse, if you will. But yeah, I mean, we need to learn the rules, basically. And that's what we really need. We need to learn the
Yeah, you
rules.
and I talked about the reason why this could be. Um, and I found that really interesting. So, what I theorize, if the monsters are not able to come out at daylight, nothing happens to them, right? We saw that Smiley's body. It's not like it went up in flames like a
Yeah,
vampire. It
yeah,
was still there.
yeah.
Why would they not be able to be out during the day? And when we connect that to how the children lived and what
Born
they
in
did
the
to their
dark.
own children,
That's
the
right. I remember
children
you bringing that
were
up.
born in the dark and they died in the dark. And we see depictions of the children being caged underground. And so, if they were to be cursed for what they did, that was
Mhm.
unbelievably wrong, then it would make sense that they were also forced to
Yeah,
have eternal life. But your eternal life will take place at nighttime.
In darkness. Yeah.
During the day, you will not be able to live, just like the children were not able to have a life and function. You will
Yeah.
forever live like the children did, which is
Yeah.
at night during the dark. So
Yeah.
I think that that would be poetic justice, if you will,
Right.
what they
Right.
did to them, forcing somebody to exist in that manner. So having the curse be reversed and having them get what they wanted, but in the same manner that the children had to live eternally. I think
Yeah.
it's really beautiful poetic justice, and it's really what they deserve if they genuinely did this to their children because they wanted to be immortal.
Mm. And it does. I mean, like you said, it's really, really poetic justice at the end of the day. If yes, these poor children were condemned to the dark, born in the dark, lived in the dark, and died in the dark. So yeah, I mean, if one of the aspects of what happened to the parents when they were turned into these monsters were you have to live in eternal darkness too, I love the poetic justice of that. Absolutely. Love that. And again, I think it would fit. I think it would fit. Will we ever see why the village sacrificed their children? Were they desperate? Was it that they were swayed by entities or voices and the choice was their own? That is what we really need to find out, right? And again, we hear that the parents sacrificed their children because they were told that they would live forever. But we have absolutely no context as to why they were doing this, who brought them this deal, why they accepted the deal, what the circumstances were. And PM, you've brought it up plenty of times. We have no idea if they were facing some kind of famine or drought or plague. Like, we have no idea the real circumstances as to why the parents were persuaded to go forward with this sacrifice. So yes, will we ever see why they did it? I have to imagine we will. I have to imagine we will find out the real truth in terms of why this sacrifice happened, why it started, and who brought this deal to them. I have to imagine they'll reveal that, if not in season 4, in season 5.
Of course. Right? We would probably riot
We'd
if
riot if they did.
we if we got to the end and they never told us
Like
how
one of
this
the
came
biggest
about.
answers. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that they're gonna leave us hanging with that one. But
Mhm.
yes. So I have, as I've told you guys before, I have like 5 billion theories, right? And I'm working on a couple of videos, and I appreciate everybody's patience. This is hard, okay? Making videos, I never knew how hard
Yeah,
Jeremy had it.
it's tough.
It's very difficult, okay?
Yeah.
Lots of tools and things that you need to learn. So I'm working on the video. But
Mm.
yes, one of my theories is that historically, human sacrifice was not because of selfish reasons. So if
Yeah.
we go back and we look at human history, we know that the show From is also named Origins. So in Europe and other places, it's
Yep.
not called From, it's
Yep.
named Origins.
Yeah.
So when we look at the name, the title Origins, if we look at human history, child sacrifice specifically was not done to benefit one single individual. When it occurred in our history, it was because of famine or because there was extreme weather that was being
Drought or
experienced.
something, or a plague,
Exactly. And
Yep.
so parents would offer their children up to many different gods. What's really interesting is that it didn't matter that these
Mm.
cultures were not connected. They were all across the earth and they were not connected. They never had communication with one another, but they all kind of got to the same point where they offered up their children as human sacrifice to different deities in order to have better weather, to be safe from famine. And one of my theories is it is possible that the story is more complicated and therefore more interesting, because it's very simple to say, oh, they sacrificed their children, they're evil, they wanted to live forever. But it's more interesting when we look at human origin and we see that we do horrifying things because of faith. We believe that things will happen for us. Perhaps they were starving, experiencing famine, and when they say it promised them that they will live forever, it wasn't a selfish day, the parents. It was the entire community. You are starving, you are experiencing horrible weather, you can't survive, and a deity offers you, if you sacrifice your children to me, all of you will live forever. The
Which could
entire
explain,
community.
which could
That's why
explain
it's
why
not
we
just
have
parents. Mhm.
exactly could explain why we have more than 12 monsters. Yeah.
Exactly. You have the entire community. And historically, it wasn't just the sacrifices that took place in communities were not just for individuals. They were for the entire community. They would gather and everybody was going to reap the benefit, whether that was rain or crops or better weather, everybody benefits. So you were doing it for the town. You were not just doing it for yourself. It is possible that they were experiencing something like this and they decided we could either die of starvation or we could perform the ritual sacrifice. And all of us will live in eternity in this heaven like state where we're living forever. Technically, they did make good on the deal. Whatever entity it was that made the deal, the monsters are living forever, the children are around. We see that they are stuck and they're clearly there. So they made good on their deal. They are around forever, not in the way that they wanted, but they are, right? So it could have been something like that where it's more complicated. Um,
Maybe they didn't read the fine print, these
yeah,
parents. Yeah.
they never do.
They never
I
do.
feel like
I mean,
every
who
story
reads?
of deal with the devil, you never read the fine print.
I was just gonna say, who reads the fine print when thinking of child sacrifice? I mean, these things slip the mind. But no, yeah, like you said, I think that could offer at least one of the more reasonable explanations as to why there's more monsters than there are parents. Because we did see at the end of season 3, Fatima did say that the monsters were the original parents of the Ankui children. But we saw how many Ankui children there were. So clearly there are more monsters than there were parents. But I've always liked this idea that it wasn't just the parents, it was their entire community that got cursed into these nightmare creatures. I just think that's the simplest answer, I guess. Could be something totally different though.
Mhm.
But
Well,
I've
let's
always
think
liked
about
that.
it. Um, now that we're going into the new season, let's think about what we know and let's see how that would work out. We know that there are more than 12 monsters,
Yes.
meaning there's more than the parents. We
Yes.
see that there's more than the parents. That's what we know.
Yeah.
We know what was said about they would sacrifice their children because it promised them eternal life. And being that there's more, and Tabitha and Jade said, we tried to save them. Tabitha and Jade,
Yeah.
that's what they say.
Yeah.
A sacrifice, something as horrific as a ritualistic human sacrifice, doesn't happen in a community unless everybody is in agreement. Let's say that you do want to perform child sacrifice in a ritualistic manner, but your neighbors, most of the neighbors don't want you to do that. They're probably going to try to stop you, not just Tabitha and Jade. You're going to have a mob after you telling you that that's the wrong thing to do, right? After those 12 parents. So if Tabitha and Jade were the only people that were coming up against the ritualistic sacrifice of the children, then that means that most of the town was used to doing this, that most of the town consented that this was a way of living, right? Otherwise, Tabitha and Jade could have been successful if they had most of the town with them and against whoever was performing the sacrifice, they would have been successful. But if 2 out of the entire village are the only ones that are trying to save the children, then you could see why they fell. That's why they
Yeah.
all got turned, because
Mhm.
they were for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's going to be very interesting once we finally get the full story of Jade, the original Jade and the original Tabitha, in terms of like what was the full deal. I know you and I have kind of toyed with the idea that maybe they were in on it in the beginning and got cold feet towards the end potentially, or maybe potentially they were against it the whole time and were just playing along to try and come up with a way to save the children. But the way Jade talks about how they sung them lullabies every night, it gives me the feeling that maybe the original Jade and Tabitha were in on the sacrifice at first. I mean, one of the children was theirs after all. How would one of their children become part of this sacrifice if they didn't originally agree to it? So I think they were in on it in the beginning. And I think the more time they spent with these children, singing them songs every night, staying with them every night, maybe Jade and Tabitha, the original Jade and Tabitha, were the ones that were tasked with guarding the children or something. Maybe they were the ones, maybe that's why they spent more time with them and formed that attachment to them in some sense after singing them lullabies every night, to the point where they started to develop affection, not just for their own child, but for all of them. And yeah, right before the sacrifice happened, maybe they tried to stop it in the last moment, but failed. But instead of getting cursed into monsters like the rest of them, since they did try to stop it, they got cursed in a different way, in terms of being forced to get reincarnated generation after generation after generation, always being forced to come back here to fix what they originally couldn't. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the original Jade and Tabitha's state of mind. Were they in on this in the beginning, or were they against it the whole time and just played along?
Well, I mean, once again, I feel like if we look at what can possess somebody, modern people, it's hard for us to get into the mind frame of what would make somebody do this sort of thing, because we thankfully have changed our ways. But when you think about the civilization that the original Tabitha and Jade lived in, this is a
Mm,
civilization where Ankui meant remember. So it was before they had the English language. It's an ancient
yeah.
civilization, right? They're working with hieroglyphics here. So if it's an ancient civilization where they were colonizing the earth for the first time, right? The way that we see them dressed, then you didn't really have to agree on things. Things just were the way that they were. You would be
Mm,
born into a culture. And for example, if you were born into the Aztec culture, you didn't have to agree to child sacrifice. It happened. It was happening for generations.
yeah.
So you were born into it and you maybe got married, had a child, and your child was going to be part of that, like Tabitha and Jade. And you didn't really have to make the deal for the first time yourself. It was something that was already established.
Maybe it was
And
like a
maybe you,
selection process and they didn't have a
yeah,
choice. Like everyone with children was
exactly.
just
And everybody
eligible.
in the
Yeah,
society was okay with it.
I can
And
see
so
that.
maybe you think, I'm okay with it. I understand this. This has been happening for a long time,
Until
but
you get
it's
picked.
different.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's different
yeah.
to say, okay, this is what happens. This is what my people do, than
Mhm,
when they say the Aztecs knock at your door and it's your child.
yeah,
Then it's like,
yeah,
well, I've been to a lot of child sacrifices and it was always different, but
yeah,
now it's my child. Now it's different. Now I don't want to participate. So it could have been something like that. It could have
yeah,
been that
definitely.
it's not that they made the deal, it's that this was a predestined
A
um,
lottery, as Michael says.
thing, a
Mhm,
lottery, as it were.
yeah.
And once it's your turn, you could find a way to be okay with it until the very last minute. It's something different to be okay with it mentally than to actually see it. So it could have been
Mhm,
something like that, especially
mhm,
because when you think about the way that they depict the children being so malnourished, being in the dark, being in cages, this lets you know that they were chosen. So maybe they didn't even get a choice. They didn't volunteer, but your
mhm,
child was chosen in a sort of lottery.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, I could definitely potentially see it being like that, where it wasn't so much these parents volunteered. It was a selection process, maybe. Yeah, I think that's possible. And that's what's interesting about this whole sacrifice. And even as Mick Light brings up a very good point for $5. And thank you so much for the five. This is actually a really good point. How do we know the Ankui sacrifice and the one Fatima saw were the same sacrifice? And I think that's at the very least a question worth asking. I think we, as the audience, I think we're meant to believe that it was one and the same, in terms of Fatima saying that, those, talking about those children and talking about those things out there, and how how the monsters were the parents of those children. So I think we're supposed to assume that the Ankui sacrifice is the one that Fatima was talking about. But I mean, it's always an interesting idea to think maybe it was a different one. So yeah, who knows? Again, I think we as the audience are meant to believe, are supposed to think it's the Ankui sacrifice, but I mean, who knows? You bring up a good point.
Yes, Mac light. And I like the way that you're thinking, because with From, we do know something for sure. That with From, we could be told something. Like Victor
Mhm.
telling us forever, forever, literally episodes and
Yeah.
episodes, that he's the one that's drawing these pictures, that it was just him and his mother. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, actually, I didn't draw these pictures. I had a whole sister I forgot about. So when it comes to getting the sacrifice information from Fatima, that is the problem. Perhaps she did really see the sacrifice, or like you presented, maybe she didn't see the specific sacrifice that we're talking
Mhm.
about. That's
Mhm.
why it's very useful. And I think that this is what we're going to see in the next season. We're going to see it from one of the main characters,
Yeah.
because right now from Fatima, this is hearsay. If you were in the court of law, this would be hearsay and not evidence that you could present to the jury. We need to hear it from the first person point of view,
We
from
need to
Jade or
see it.
Tabitha.
We need to
Mhm.
see it. We do. I mean, we heard a nice exposition dump through Fatima, but like you said, we don't have the full context yet in terms of everything that Fatima told us. We need a direct point of view. We need to actually see what really happened during that sacrifice. And I have to imagine we will. I have to imagine that they're going to show us that. Hopefully this season. But yeah, we need to see it. You know, we heard it. Now we need to see it. Absolutely. But no, that's just my personal guess, McLeay. I mean, when I was watching that scene, I kind of read it as she was talking about the Ankui sacrifice. It seemed like that's what she was referring to. But again, it's a good question if nothing else. I mean, because you can never be too sure about anything on From, and that's why I never try to speak in absolutes on anything. I always try to just present ideas of what could be, and not say that it's definitely this, because I don't know. None of us really know. But it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to theorize on. That's for sure. And thank you so much, David Riley, for the 99 cents. Very much appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. If you have a specific question or topic that you want us to dive into, by all means, let us know in the chat. And thank you so much, Kiwi, who has been a member for, wow, 32 months now. That's almost as long as I've had a channel. 32 months Kiwi Skirt has been a member of the channel for. Thank you so much, Kiwi, for all your support and all of the awesome modding you do for the channel. Kiwi's always dropping the link in there to the
Yeah.
Discord for us, and I super appreciative to that, and to PM's channel. And if you guys haven't, of course, definitely subscribe to PM's channel. She's doing some awesome From videos too, and she'll be covering season 4. Yeah, I'm just super grateful for this awesome little community we have here.
Yeah, Kiwi is the best.
Kiwi's great.
Kiwi is the absolute best. And I do love, I'm seeing here in the chat, you guys are having a really interesting conversation led by the man in yellow, no other. He is a troublemaker. He's stirring things up here in the chat. But I do see that you guys are having a conversation with the man in yellow, who is emphasizing historically how brutal people were, including the
Mhm.
French. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, one of you guys mentioned apocalypse, so we think of the Aztecs, we think of the Vikings, we think of other people, societies that engaged in sacrifice, human sacrifice. But it's true what Doug is saying here. The man in yellow is true. Even European people also engage in a form of public sacrifice. Back in
Mhm.
the day, historically, now we're horrified. We're like, how could this be? How could they have done this to the children? But back in the day, if you were going to kill someone, you did it publicly. People
Yeah.
showed up. Your children showed up. It was an
Oh, it was
event.
a
The
spectacle. Yeah.
entire community participated. So
It
it's
was
not
like
really
the
far
going
fetched,
to a sporting event.
unfortunately. So it's not far fetched when we look at the milkman and the waitress. The entire community would have participated in this. Even the people that, the bread maker back in the day, the person that did different things was also in on it, and nobody
Mhm.
would save you. this could be happening to you, and they would just stand there because this is the way that it functioned, right? So the men in yellow makes an excellent point. I also did see that Doug was saying he loves all the theories, but especially the batshit crazy ones. And he is so
Absolutely.
right. He is
Love the
so right.
batshit crazy ones.
Those are my favorite ones. I mean,
Love.
we all love to theorize here, but like you said, Jeremy, we don't know who could be right. We might all be wrong,
No
and
idea.
that's the fun of it.
Yes.
The crazy theories are also my favorite, Doug. They're my absolute favorite because sometimes they make a lot of sense. I've heard some crazy stuff, and by the end of it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's true. Maybe we never went to the moon.
Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I mean, again, it's always fun. It is. It's always fun to dive into this stuff, especially when the man in yellow, Doug himself, shows up and likes to laugh at the batshit crazy theories along with us. That's always fun. That is always fun. But yeah, it's I mean, again, it's one of those shows where it's just very, it's very heavily geared towards these types of discussions, with all the mystery aspects in it. you know, Discussions like this were inevitable, around a show like this. And it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to dive into a rabbit hole every once in a while, even if it's maybe a dead end. It's sometimes it's about the journey, not the destination. Sometimes it's about the journey. Yeah, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know about the dogs and cats living together. Not in Fromville, not anymore, at least. Not in season 4. Looks like we are about to lose one of our poor doggos. And that was devastating when I saw that. When I saw this zoomed in shot of this what appears to be one of the poor doggos in one of these brown sacks, indicating that it might actually be the doggo hanging from the motel sign. Ah, rough. Poor doggo.
Mm.
Poor doggo.
Okay, I really do want to highlight. I'm obsessed with the men in yellow, clearly, but I want to
Of course.
highlight Doug's comment here.
Mhm.
He's giving us some information as to what his favorite theories are and which ones he dislikes,
Oh,
and
yes.
he's talking about this one. Perfect.
Yes. I'll say this much. I've never been a fan of those theories that assume there's some other level to the story that explains what's really going on. That it's a government experiment or a video game. And I 100% agree with you, Doug. I've never been a big fan of those in terms of like the simulation theory, stuff like that. Like I've never been a big fan of finding just one answer that just explains every little aspect of this show. That to me is a lazy form of writing. And if anything we've seen from the writers from John Griffin and everyone else, they are not lazy storytellers at all. So I would be very surprised if we get to the end of this story and we find out it's all some government experiment or some video game or some simulation or something like that. I would be very surprised if that's where the show goes. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of those theories myself, personally. I know they were very popular during season 1. Like when season 1 was out, the simulation theory was probably one of the most popular theories in the fandom. But then again, this was back when only season 1 was out, and we didn't really have a lot more information that we later ended up getting in season 2 and 3. Theory has kind of lost a little bit of steam, but it's still out there in the ether. There are still, some theories out there that some people think this is some kind of government experiment or some kind of simulation or something like that. But I just feel like everything that we've seen, the direction that we're heading seems to very much be heading into the realm of supernatural. And it seems like this is very much going to be a story of supernatural in origin. So yeah, I would be very surprised if we got to the end and we found out it was some kind of experiment. I really don't think that's where it's going. But that's just my personal belief.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I would have to 100% agree with you, Mr. Man in Yellow.
Yeah.
Because if we were to go through the entire storyline, which is a beautiful, grand storyline, there's no other show like From. It has us absolutely obsessed. If we go through the entire storyline and at the end, it turns out that there's some men on a walkie-talkie and this is all just a government experiment, or they remove a VR headset and they say, okay, let's go home. That was the experience. We're going to riot. We're going to go absolutely crazy. And the reason why is because when you have a storyline that ends in experiment, and this was fabricated, it was made believe, either through video game or through government experiment or through somebody making you believe that this is happening when it's not, it feels like you just told me that I wasted my time. That's the way that I feel personally. I feel like I paid attention, I watched such a great storyline, and now nothing matters because it was just a video game. And in a video game, you can make anything happen. Um,
And
I
that was my
don't.
big problem with 1899. The big reveal
Oh
at
my
the end of
God. 1890.
1899.
I love that show. And then
Up
when they
until that
said,
point, I loved it.
oh, it was a simulation.
Yeah,
I was like,
ruined it.
oh my God,
Ruined
how
that
dare
show.
you? You wasted my time. You wasted hours of my time to tell me it was a simulation, because we've had those stories. The reason why I don't think that they would do this, Mr. Man in Yellow, is because Jeremy here, he's going to immediately have an issue with it, but he's a big fan of Lost. We have to admit that when they created Lost, some people were very upset because they believe that the storyline did not matter because they were all dead. Whether they understood it or not, that's not the question. The question here is, you made a storyline where the ending was so unclear that people felt that nothing happened, nothing mattered, and they were angry with you. These are the writers that had that experience. People
And
are
they'll avoid
pissed.
that.
It's a
Yeah.
decade later and people are still like pitch and forks after them. So
Yeah.
if you are a writer and you had that experience with your audience, the next time that you create something, you're gonna say, I'm gonna be 100% clear.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make a storyline where there's not gonna be pulling out at the end where I'm like, just kidding, it was a video game. Just kidding, it was a
Yeah.
simulation. Just kidding,
No
the
way.
government's involved.
No
You're
way.
probably not going to do that because you lived in the flesh, having people be upset with you, having fans get mad at you, having people say you made the worst show ever, right? So you're probably not going to repeat that. And they've said it. They said there's going to be a conclusion. It's going to be 100% clear. I
Yeah.
just don't think it's going to be that. And if it is, I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. My world's gonna fall apart. Okay, if this is
Yeah.
all fake.
No, I just don't think that's where we're heading in any way, shape, or form. And I agree with this. Like, I mean, From needs to be its own thing. I mean, it's already compared to Lost way more than it should in and of itself. From at the very least, the finale of From needs to stand on its own, and it needs to be entirely different from Lost. And I agree with you. I think it definitely will be. Yeah, I just don't feel like we're heading into that realm of simulation video game. I mean, as Doug also brings up, we do know that the creators have come out and publicly said it's not a dream. This is not one shared dream that they're all hallucinating. They have straight up said that. So yeah, I think a lot of those kind of theories, the dreams, the government experiments, the simulation stuff, the alien experiment stuff. I think a lot of that stuff, we're just based on where we're seeing the show going, it seems like that stuff is less and less likely. I don't want to speak in absolutes because I don't know what's coming, but in my opinion, I think we're heading for a supernatural answer.
And when we talk about like supernatural answers, right? I was looking into CERN. CERN is the people that have created the huge
Yeah.
collider, right?
Yeah.
Currently, there's scientists that are working hard on parallel universes, on things that seem supernatural. So it's not far-fetched to say that somebody could come up with a story that involves things that seem supernatural, like people being stuck in a plane of existence that you can't get out of because your timeline kind of got screwed up. You could go with that. You don't need it to be a simulation or a video game or a made believe story. You could create a story based on scientific theory. A lot of people do. Like, there's scientists currently working on trying to figure out if this timeline that we're living on is an actual timeline or if we divert it somehow. So I just don't think that it's necessary to tell us at the end of the entire story. Just kidding. Could you imagine, Jeremy? We're watching the story. It's like the last episode, and then we see Boyd removing a VR headset
Oh God.
and turning off
No.
a computer and going home.
That would be it would just be so unsatisfying. And John Griffin knows that. He's no slouch. He's not a dumb individual by any metric. So I have to imagine he has a very clever ending in mind. I just have to imagine that. I have faith in John Griffin after everything that he's done with the show up until this point, his whole writing team. I have faith that they have something very clever in mind, and I'm hoping that it's something that none of us guessed. That's the ideal ending. Like for me, just as a fan, I would love it that the ending of From would be something that literally nobody guessed. That would be the best ideal ending.
Yeah.
But no.
Let's say they pulled it off before, okay?
Mhm.
I need to, just give them their flowers here. I'm always raving and ranting about From and how amazing and creative the creators of From are, but they really need to be given all of the credit here because they have people from all over the world, which I love the From community. We have people from all over the world that are spending hours and hours upon hours dissecting every frame of the show. We had 1,000,000,005 theories. And out of those 1,000,000,005 theories, nobody guessed that Ankui meant remember. So
Very
they've
true.
done it before.
Very
They
true.
literally have had the masses looking into their show, and they've been able to surprise every single one of us because none of us guessed that Ankui meant remember. They pulled it off. And I think that they're going to do the same thing with the storyline, the ending. We will have discussed it, to death, and we're not going to know what the ending actually was. Just like none of us could have guessed something so simple and yet so fitting, like Ankui meaning remember.
Exactly. And even Doug brings up even the actors themselves don't know a whole lot. Even they don't really know. I remember we asked Doug about this when we had him on the channel about how much did they give him about the character that he was playing heading into that one scene he did at the end of season 3. And like he said, they didn't give him a whole lot. They didn't give, like, even the actors don't have a whole lot of information in terms of like where the story is ultimately going to go. And that's again, that's interesting. I've always found that very interesting. But yeah, there's just still so much about the story we don't know. There's still so much we don't know. Even like as Doug said, we know so much less. Even the actors themselves know so much less than we think. And that's fun. I imagine that's super fun for them as well. Like I can only imagine if I was on this cast, like I would be a super big fan of this. I'm a fan of the show regardless, but if I was working on the show, I would be a fan of the show even if I was working on it. So I imagine that's fun, even as one of the actors, not 100% knowing exactly where this story is going to go. So yeah, it adds an extra layer of excitement, I think, maybe. We got Justin for $20. Thank you so much, Justin, for the $20. Very, very much appreciate you, my friend. Hey, Jeremy and PM, happy Sunday to you guys. In your trailer theories, did you already talk about the sacrifice of Toby in the tunnels? Blood on his chin that Jade finds. Season 2, Griffin said they didn't forget about Toby. We haven't talked about Toby in this stream, but I'm always down to talk anything from. Yeah, I mean, I think the Toby thing's very interesting. And again, that one line of them stating that they haven't forgotten about Toby has always made me very interested to want, to find out if Jade will ever find out what Sarah really did to him. Because I don't think Jade knows the full extent. I think Jade is under the assumption that Sarah opened the door and the monsters killed Toby. I don't think Jade really knows that it was actually Sarah that killed Toby herself and then mangled his body to make it look like a monster killed them and then left the door open to cover that death up. I'm not sure how much Jade knows. The show hasn't really confirmed that yet. So I'm hoping that at some point that is maybe a way where the Toby storyline can kind of come back into play in some way. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of Toby being a sacrifice, I don't know anything about that. That's the first time I've heard anything like that. But I don't know. Blood on his chin. That's blood on his chin that Jade finds. Are you talking about the blood on the chin in the season 4 trailer that just dropped? Is that what you're talking about? I'm not exactly sure what blood you're referring to. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, let's look at the trailer. Maybe I think he meets the trailer.
Because
Thank
we
you
do
so
get
much,
that.
Justin.
Yeah.
When it comes to Toby, I always wondered if the storyline here is that Jade and Tabitha are reincarnated and they're always coming back to save the children because they don't want to forget, right? Ankui, then it would make a lot of sense that these voices, as soon as the game gets started and they see, oh, this is the new Jade and Tabitha, that they would have said, Sarah, kill the man, meaning Jade. Go kill him. If you kill him before the game gets started, then we have a better chance at this cycle ending quickly because you're taking out one of the characters, right? Um, so I always thought that she confused because she wasn't given orders specifically of what meant to kill. That was she confused and she killed the wrong man, especially because if they are reincarnated, these voices are not going to know what body Jade was reincarnated into. They're just going to know 2 cars arrive on the same day. Victor said this is very special. It doesn't usually happen. When 2 cars arrive, that is probably the sign that the 2 people have arrived. So I'm thinking they wanted her to kill Jade, and she
Yes.
killed the wrong guy. She killed
The wrong
Toby.
one. Yeah, I think that's the simplest and easiest explanation for it. That they simply just got it wrong. Yeah. But yeah, I think this is what Justin was referring to in terms of this being Toby in the tunnels. Interesting. I mean, shit, this does look like Toby. Holy fuck. This does look like Toby. I mean, his mouth was in that exact fucking expression when Sarah fucking plunged the knife into him. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, my friend. Your guess is as good as mine. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of does almost resemble Toby. I don't know. I don't know. But now I'm looking at this photo with different eyes. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. But interesting idea. Nothing else, Justin. Very interesting idea. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I think that this person here is the original Jade.
That's what I thought originally. That was my first thought, that Jade might have found the remains of his original self, because it also looks like Jade comes across the remains of what appears to be children's bones. Almost like he maybe comes across the remains of the actual Ankui children's bodies. And that's coming up here in a minute. You see a little skeleton. There we go. Right there. A little skeleton right there that kind of looks like it could be the skeleton of a child's hand, maybe. So yeah, does he potentially find the remains of the Ankui children and the remains of the original Jade and Tabitha, maybe? I don't know.
I like that idea because when you think about if you are the community, you have been waiting for the sacrifice for a while, if the children were born in the dark, died in the dark, and they are about 7 or 8 years old. You have been waiting for this. It's part of your culture or whatever it is. And you
Yeah.
have two people that try to destroy this. You're
Yeah.
probably gonna hurt them. You're
Mhm.
probably gonna grab them and hurt them because they just destroy something that you have been waiting for years, that is supposed to bring you eternal life, or is supposed to benefit the community. And so that makes me think they probably hurt them and left them down there in the tunnels. And he is walking through memories because we see that he sees a little boy. I think that little boy is him. He's probably
Yeah.
going to walk through the tunnels and walk through different versions of himself until he
Mhm.
gets to the original.
Mhm. Yeah, it could be. Could very well be. I mean, that was my original thought. Like when I first saw that in the trailer, I thought this be the original Jade that he's finding. But yeah, I don't know. I like this. I like these Toby theories. I think these are pretty cool. They're going to show him dead Toby in the tunnels. The creatures won't hurt him. They'll reveal Toby to him. They'll reveal what happened to Toby to Jade in the tunnels. Interesting theory, Thomas. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, again, I mean, I do see how it kind of resembles Toby a little bit, and then maybe that could explain the blood on the chin and maybe the wound in the neck. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Interesting theory, guys. I will say, very interesting theory, if nothing else. Now I can't wait to see this scene even more and find out what's really going on here. But thank you again, Justin, for the $20. Very much appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Awesome stuff. My assumption is that's not a statue, but the beginning of mummification. Yes. Cold environments, a too slow or decomposition. At least that's what Ducky says on NCIS. I mean, when in doubt, trust your forensic analysis from NCIS. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But yeah, no, I agree. I definitely tend to agree. At first glance, it almost kind of resembles a statue, just the texture and the color of it. But yes, I mean, with the rat in the mouth, the blood, looks like it's more of a decomposition. It's in a stage of decomposition or mummification, as you said. That's kind of what it looks like more to me. So yeah, I don't think it's a statue. I agree with you. I don't think it's a statue. So people that die in Fromville, example Tilly, will she be reincarnated into one of the people arriving next, trapped into the town? Is that how it goes? You always return if you die in Fromville? That's the big question, Katie Jo. That's one thing that we really don't quite have an answer to yet. We know that Jade and Tabitha get reincarnated, that they are reincarnated versions of the original parents, of two of the original parents. But we don't really know in terms of if any of these other characters are direct reincarnations of previous residents of Fromville either. That's one thing the show hasn't really made 100% clear. Again, a lot of really good theories. I think there's a lot of really cool theories out there in terms of who is and isn't a reincarnation. But yeah, we don't really know. Like in terms of definitively, we have no idea. But in terms of like Tilly dying, does that activate some kind of reincarnation of Tilly? I don't know. I have no idea. One thing that we were tracking very early on in the show, like during season 1 and season 2, and partially even in season 3, were the number of arrivals in town versus the number of deaths in town. And that was one thing that a lot of people in the fandom were keeping track of. And a lot of people were starting to point out that as soon as you had a death, like you almost had the exact number of deaths as you had number of new arrivals in the show by the time you got to the end of season 2. It's like everyone that was killed off was replaced when the bus arrived at the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. So some fans have been out there tracking these kind of numbers, and there have been instances on the show where we've had the exact same number of deaths that we've had of new arrivals, or at least that's what some people have been counting. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure if there are other reincarnated characters. That's one thing that the show just has not really answered definitively yet. Again, a lot of really cool theories out there, but Have no idea. But what about you guys? What do you guys think in the chat? And what do you think as well, PM? Do you think that there's a possibility that there are other reincarnated characters, or is the reincarnation thing just a Jade and Tabitha thing? I tend to think it's just a Jade and Tabitha thing, but I could be wrong.
Well, that's a really good reminder, Katie Jill, to look at the scene where Tilly is talking about death. So I'm doing it as we speak. But Katie Joe, you just reminded me that when Tilly is discussing death, because we know that she's close to dying, she knows that it's around the corner because she has been diagnosed with the deadly illness. And she mentioned something really interesting about death right before she is killed by Fatima. Something about she used to be scared of death, but she no longer is scared because she thinks that life maybe is not the end, but just the beginning or the middle. I have to look it up. I want to go back to that scene and see what she says, as to gather some more clues, because I think that there's something interesting in that scene. She's giving us some information that's probably important to the storyline. I thought about From as the monsters are reincarnated when they die because they were promised eternal life, so they're gonna live forever.
They come back, yeah.
Jade and Tabitha, I don't see it so much as a curse that they are reincarnated. I see it more as being given an opportunity. Because when you think about a parent, if you have a child and you love your child, and unfortunately, whatever culture or religion, your child is up for sacrifice. You attempt to save them, but you can't save them. So you tell them a story. Hey, I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna like come back for you. And they scream back, remember, mom, like remember me. When somebody tells you they kill your child, it's sacrificed. If somebody comes to you and offers you, hey, I offer you to be reincarnated over and over and over, and you could try to save them. They're gonna be stuck here forever. You would take it. That's not a curse. A lot of parents would see that as an opportunity, as a blessing. Like, yeah, I failed. I failed at my duty to protect my child. And now you're telling me that I get to have endless tries to try over and over again to save them? Hell yes. Sign me up. I want to reincarnate. And so therefore, not so much of a curse, but an opportunity, I think, for Tabitha and Jade. As for Tilly and all the other people, I think that they're pulled in to help Tabitha and Jade or to hurt Tabitha and Jade. I think that there's two sides here that are at play.
Of
the side
humans?
that says they're going to win, and the side that says they're not. They're not going to save their child. They're never going to save them. And whatever entity is playing the sides looks at people on the road and says, I'm going to pull that one in because that one is going to create chaos. Or I'm going to pull the other one in because they have a skill like Boyd that can help my characters. I think that's why other people get pulled in, as just you are a helping hand that they need. Not necessarily that you're reincarnated or you were doomed to be there, but you could be of help.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's what's so fascinating about trying to figure out what's going on with this whole reincarnation thing. Like there's so many interesting possibilities of what could really be going on out there in terms of how the people are getting stuck in here and who's choosing and why they're getting chosen. But yeah, hopefully that's something we can get a definitive answer on at some point in season 4 in terms of this whole reincarnation thing. Is it more than Jade and Tabitha, or is it similar to just certain people getting pulled in here to fill certain roles? Not sure. But again, I mean, Jade, and just in terms of the whole reincarnation thing, another thing that could potentially, at least speak a little more to that was the line that Jade says in season 3 in terms of energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. And reincarnation literally is the transformation of energy from one life being into another, the same person being reincarnated. So who knows? I don't know. But again, maybe it could all just have been referring to just Jade and Tabitha. We really don't know. We really don't know. I mean, yeah, that's Toby. The tongue was removed, so the mouse has room. I mean, and that does make sense too. I mean, we do know his tongue was cut out. And again, the face does kind of look like Toby. It does kind of look like Toby's body just in a state of decomposition. So no, I like that idea. I like the idea. Again, when I first saw it, I thought it could be the original Jade too. But no, I like these Toby ideas. Again, it looks like freaking Toby. It does. I like it. And I guess the only question is, yeah, why is Toby's body down in the freaking caves? Why did the monsters go and grab Toby's body? And is this going to be the moment where Jade does find out what really happened to Toby? That would be a really fucking fun scene. For Jade to go all the way down into those caves only to find out what Sarah really did to Toby. Yeah. Oof.
Well, Mr. Man in Yellow says goodbye to us, and we leave you with this, Mr. Man in Yellow. Why don't you go and ask Sarah why she had to remove the tongue? Because I've always wondered this. I always wonder when it comes to Toby. She took something tells me that she took some privilege here where she did more than was asked. If they said go and kill the man, why did she kiss him? Was the tongue removal also part of what they told her to do, or was that just a Sarah touch, just like the kiss?
I think it might have just been a Sarah touch. Like, I'm about to kill you. Let me at least make it easy on you and give you one little farewell kiss.
But what about the tongue?
Her cutting out the tongue?
Yes.
No
was
idea.
That also
No
creative
idea.
choice by Sarah?
I don't think so. No, it looks like everything that she did to the body, she was directed to do by the voices. I mean, the voices told her to go.
So then
No,
does
not the kiss. No, not the kiss. I'm just talking about the mutilation of the body, the cutting out of the tongue, the rest of, the mutilating the rest of the body. The voices told Sarah to go to that draw. They told her to grab that scalpel, and they told her to do all of that just to simply cover up the fact that she killed him. I mean, the voices seemingly wanted Sarah to make it look like the monsters killed Toby. That's why she leaves the door open for everybody else to get killed, to cover up the death of Toby. But in terms of like the kiss, like was that of Sarah's own doing? I think it was. I don't know. Maybe Sarah just like felt bad that she had to kill this guy and gave him like one last fond memory of a kiss. I don't know.
You guys are so funny. Somebody said they told Sarah, go tongue him. And she thought, does that mean kiss or cut out his tongue? Just in case, to be safe, I'm going to cut out his tongue and I'm also going to kiss him.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'll be right either way. Maybe.
Yeah, and I think it was that. I think the voices told her everything but the kiss. That's kind of how I saw it. Like the tongue, the rest of the mutilation of the body. I think the voices told her to do that just to cover up the fact that he was killed by human hands. Make it look like a monster killed him. But yeah, they told Sarah to take the tongue, all of it, or just some of it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I tend to agree with some of you guys in the chat that maybe the kiss was just Sarah trying to give him a pleasant memory before she literally stuck the knife in him. Yeah, she was calming him down before kissing him, maybe before killing him.
She's a sweet soul. Okay, my Sarah is a very sweet soul, and she said, "Listen, this is the only way, like the boy in white, but I'm gonna kiss you, and I'm super cute. That's gonna be like a positive thing for you. So here you go, a kiss, and I bid you goodbye." And she killed them. I mean, she could have killed them and not kissed them. So when you think about it, she did the best she could.
Yeah.
But I really like what Golden Child says here in the chat. He says his money's on Sarah and the Man in Yellow. And you're totally right, Golden Child. They should have thought about that. The Man in Yellow is going to be just wreaking havoc on the town until he gets to Sarah's house. All they need to do is say, Sarah, get the hell out there and deal with this man. He's going to go out running out of there.
Maybe. Maybe. I like this too as well. The voices were even like, "What the fuck, Sarah? We didn't tell you to do that."
Yeah, the voices were like,
"What the fuck, Sarah? We didn't tell you to kiss him. We just told you to kill him."
yeah, just like the
Uh,
monsters when Tabitha was fighting with Jim, how they started screaming. Like they're like, listen, we're
they're
toxic and
like,
we're bad
"Zip it."
people, but you guys are toxic. You guys need to stop fighting. We're monstrous, but you guys are monstrous. The voices were the same with Sarah. Like, damn,
Yeah.
Sarah, we did not say kiss him. Like,
Yeah, we didn't tell you to do that.
she's enjoying this way too
You're,
much.
you're going full on method with
You
this.
were wrong for that, Sarah. And the tongue thing, we didn't tell you to do that either, girl. Yeah, who knows? You never know with Sarah.
Uh, oh, geez. Sarah's wild. Sarah's fucking wild. But no, I gotta say, I like this idea that this is potentially Toby's body that Jade is going to encounter down there, and maybe he'll finally find out the truth. And maybe that's what the monsters want. Maybe the monsters want to start to create more division among the people in town. We know that they don't want to just kill everybody. They're torturing a lot of these people, Boyd included. And maybe this is going to be another step of that, of turning the town against one another. But yeah, I like the Toby theory. I definitely like it.
The monsters thought Sarah crossed the line. Yeah, the monster said, "You know what, Sarah? That was out of line. That was out of line. Let's talk to the boy, the new boy that came in the bus." And that's when they switched to Elgin. They're like, "Sarah's even too crazy for us. Let's go to Elgin."
Yeah. Uh, yeah, bigger question is, how did Sarah get home at night? I have to imagine she did her deed, left the door open or left the talisman down and just scurried home, really quick. I guess we'd have to go back and see when she killed Toby. I guess we have to look out the window in the back. Was it still light out? I think it might have been still light out. I could be mistaken, but I have to go back and check. But I think it might have only just start. I think it was only just starting to get dark when Sarah killed Toby and then left. So she might have just left the door open just as the sun was coming down and went home, or she just scurried home really quick. But yeah, I have to go back and check. But part of me is having a memory of it still being a little bit light out when she actually did the deed. But yeah, I got to go
I
back.
like that the chat is bringing up Jeremy, and I'd like to know what you think about this, because many of you guys in the chat have been reminding us that Jasmine also
Yeah.
kissed that man from Colony House.
Oh yeah, yeah, 70s porn stash guy, Kevin.
That's what you like to call him, yes.
Yeah.
So she also removed his tongue. Do you think that there's a correlation?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I don't know. I mean, could it just be a coincidence where the monsters just like to rip off appendages of their victims, which they definitely seem to do? Or yeah, is there something a little more specific about the tongue? I don't think so. I think it's just a way to just showcase their brutality. I don't think there's a deeper meaning behind it, but I could be wrong. But what about you? What do you guys think in the chat? And what do you think as well? Do you think that it's just a coincidence that both of the tongues got ripped out? Do you think like it's a little more specific, or do you think it's just a way to showcase their brutality?
Very good question. And yes, welcome Asaya Ninja Wrestler. He says, "Hi, sorry for the bad English. My English is also not very good. Everybody is welcome. We try to understand.
Absolutely.
We will find a way to understand each other here."
Everybody's welcome here. Everybody. Absolutely. We're bilingual on this panel, so
We are. Jeremy is learning Spanish, you guys. Jeremy is actually well on his way to being bilingual. He's learning Spanish, and I can report to you he's doing very, very well.
Yes.
But when it comes to Jasmine, I think she just kind of did that, the removal of the tongue, as a surprise. I think that the scene, what was surprising about it was that they were engaged in this kiss, where you almost believe that
Yes.
Jasmine was saying the truth. And
Yes.
the tongue being removed by the end of the kiss was a really good way to show in the scene that she was not to be trusted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I almost feel like it was a creative choice more than it was a necessary thing for her to
Mhm.
do,
Yeah.
or more than it had a significance. I
Yeah.
just think that the scene really, really worked with them being engaged in this kiss where you couldn't really see
Yeah.
what she was doing.
Yeah.
And that smile, epic. She's iconic, this Jasmine,
Yeah.
because she gives us the nicest smile and
Yeah.
then spits out his tongue. It's like, yes, girl.
Yeah.
Yes, queen.
Yeah. She did, dude. She laid the meanest smile after she rips out his tongue, spits it out, and just gives the meanest smile before going in for the kill. Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of how I saw it as well. I don't think there's a deeper meaning or anything as to why it's the tongue. I think in that scene it just happened to work because of the kiss. And in this scene, I think it was just Sarah following instructions to kind of dismember the body to make it look like it was a monster attack, and monsters have been known to rip out tongues. So I think it's that simple. I don't think there's a deeper meaning there or anything. Just showcasing the brutality, I think. But yeah, um, fucking Sarah. Sarah. Gotta love it.
Listen, she takes what I like about Sarah is there was so many moments, and I want to still compile a
Ooh.
list of the
Yeah.
funniest from moments, because
Yeah.
it's not a funny show, but there are a lot of funny moments like we've discussed.
There
What I
are.
like about Sarah is that she takes what she has done with a lot of grace, okay, if you could say that.
Yeah.
When they tell her you're a killer, right? Victor shows up at her house. That's like an epic sleepover, because he shows up, he's like, hey, I need to get into your house, doesn't even ask permission. She's like, fine, right? And then he's like, yeah, this used to be my room. You know, you're super scary. You killed your brother. I had a sister, but I didn't kill her. Like, you killed your brother, remember? You're like terrifying. And he's just like roasting her, and she's just smiling. She takes it all with grace. She never says,
Mhm.
oh, I had a reason. She never speaks up for herself in order to make us feel like she was the victim. She kind of just takes it.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I suck. And also, I guess I don't have a soul now. So let me go ahead and say Boyd's soul and take out somebody's eye. She's fully on embracing what she's become. And
Yeah.
I got to admit it, that's likable. That's a hell
It
of a lot of
is.
likable.
It is. And I think it's nice for Sarah to finally find what her purpose is in the town, the role that maybe she feels that she was meant to play. And that is that role, the role where I can be the one to rip out someone's tongue so you don't have to. Let me save your soul. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun season for Sarah. I got to
I
say, I
love
do
the
worry. Sorry,
I
go ahead.
love the idea now that you're showing like the man in yellow suit
Hmm.
of him just wreaking havoc, like the chat is saying, and Sarah just being like, okay, let me roll up my sleeves of my little yellow cardigan. I got this, because she is crazy. So he's not
Hmm.
gonna be able to do anything. And also when he takes off his clothes and he morphs into something else, we see that the people are coming across the clothing. Are they gonna take it? And if so, what is he gonna wear? I know it
Yeah.
sounds like a funny question, but like, is he going to be running around without clothing? It is a real thing to ask, because we see that there's people who find the suit, and
Yeah.
then I would assume you take it into the sheriff's office. So
He
when he
does.
comes back,
He
he's
does.
going to be looking for his clothes, and it's going to
Yeah,
be gone.
Boyd takes it. There is one scene, a shot where you see Boyd sitting at his desk in the sheriff's station, and the man in yellow suit is sitting on Boyd's desk. So they do. They take it. They take it. They steal
So
his
what is he
freaking
gonna
suit.
wear?
Well,
I
that's the
know
thing.
that
A
people
lot of
pointed out the
people
suitcase, but there's a
exact.
wedding dress in that suitcase. Is he gonna
No,
wear the wedding dress?
I don't know if that's the same suitcase or if it's just a similar one, because it almost looks like the man in yellow is digging in the trailer, almost like he's maybe digging that suitcase out of the ground. But a lot of people think that he's shapeshifting into Jim in this scene, and that he's putting on clothes. He's putting on Jim's clothes, or clothes that could close to where he could pass himself off as Jim. A lot of people think he's a shapeshifter. I don't know. Again, there's certainly I see why people think that. When you look at the trailer and you see the man in yellow looking like it almost looks like he's morphing or changing his shape. It looks like his hair is getting longer. But yeah, I don't know. Again, if is this his only yellow suit, and if they steal it from him, how's he going to be the man in yellow without his yellow suit going forward? Even if he is, shape shifting into another character, at some point you'd think he would want to go back to his regular shape with his regular suit. But I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have been so careless as to just leave it there, unless the man in yellow left it there wanting it to get discovered. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what other threads he might be wearing.
Lots about fashion here on the show. One thing that I'm interested in seeing is Smiley and his new outfit. Does he get a new 1950s outfit? Does he go to the original outfit that he had on? Because I still have the question, why are they dressed in the time period of the 1950s? That's still something that I can't make sense of. So seeing if he gets a new outfit would be helpful.
Yeah, it would be pretty interesting to see how he's going to look. Because yeah, in terms of the monsters' attire, that is something the show has not answered yet, and something I hope they do. Hopefully, they do answer it. But yeah, I mean, we got Smiley returning. We got the man in yellow has arrived. It seems like we got new monsters coming this season. We got these scarecrow monsters. We haven't even seen the colonial woman monster yet, and what kind of role she's going to play on the show. Season 4 really does look like it's going to be freaking insane, like freaking insane. And I'm ready. I'm here for it.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to talk to you about, Jeremy, is I was doing some research into the children, right? And I came across the Instagram page of the person. I like to stalk everybody, you guys, who works on the show.
Me
If you
too.
are catering, if you're getting their sandwiches or coffee, I probably have found you. But so
We
I
know
was
what they had.
going
We
through,
know what the cast had for breakfast this morning. Yeah.
exactly. I was going through hair, makeup, and special effects. There is a picture, I could send it to you, of the children, and they were discussing the makeup and the hair that they did on the children. Now, what's really interesting is that the person that did the look said in the script, the child is described as looking as if they had pulled out their own hair. So that's why the hair looks the way that it does. That's why it's chunks and pieces that are missing. And they were specifically told in the script that they had to make the children look like they had pulled their own hair out. So I thought that was really interesting because I never considered that they would hurt themselves. I always thought the hair was because they were malnourished,
Yeah.
but he goes through the whole process of how he had to build a cap and then pull hair out of it so that he would be left over with the scars that you would have if you pull your hair out. They had hair once
Interesting.
upon a time.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you look at this shot here, you see the top of her skull. It does almost look like there's some cuts up there, like almost like, yeah, like big chunks of hair were maybe yanked out, and there was cuts left over. So no, that's interesting. I mean, the wording of it is very interesting. We had to make it look as though it was ripped out hair. Does that mean the hair was ripped out? Or does that mean they had to make it look like it was ripped out, but something else happened, I guess is the question. But
I'm going to
no,
email you the original post so that you could look at the language, because you're right. The way that you say things can
it's
be
tough.
different.
But no, I mean, I think it's interesting though, because you look at these little cuts on the top of on her head that would probably be consistent with ripping big chunks of hair out of a child's head. I imagine it would leave big cuts like that. So no, maybe maybe they weren't just malnourished. Maybe it was a little more deliberate what happened to them. Interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So you think Sarah has plot armor? I don't think so. No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Sarah is one of the characters that we lose, actually, even. I don't think Sarah has plot armor, especially now after seeing the kind of role that she seems to be stepping into in season 4. At the end of season 3, like PM was just mentioning, it seems like Sarah finally kind of found out what her role in the town should be. She's been wondering how can she be of use, this whole time. She's been trying to redeem herself for a very long time, and try to be useful to the town. And I think she found that at the end of season 3 in terms of being the kind of person that can do what she did to Elgin to keep Boyd from doing it. So if Sarah is taking that kind of mindset heading forward, like if her character is taking that kind of mindset heading forward, then she's definitely going to be in a state of mind where she's going to put herself in danger. She's not going to be afraid to put herself in danger. And that could be very bad for her character. That could definitely lead to her getting killed. So no, when I look at Sarah, I don't see a character with a ton of plot armor, personally. But what about you? When you see Sarah, do you see a character with plot armor?
No, I don't think that.
I think she's one of the more at-risk ones, if anything.
Yes. So unfortunately, I don't. Well, she's important to what has happened in the past. I think going forward, when we are given the mission of saving the children and they're being saved by Tabitha and Jade, Boyd seems helpful because he could facilitate that, right? But Sarah, I think that she was helpful season 1 and 2 and season 3 at the finale. I don't see that there's much more for her to do that she could be helpful with, right? It seems like what they're gonna be battling is supernatural. And I like to joke around that she could take on the man in yellow, but she probably can't.
Yeah.
So I don't see much more for her. I think her storyline, if you were to close out the storyline and Sarah dies or sacrifices herself, because that's how I see her going, as sacrificing. She's
Saving
already done
someone.
it. She
Yeah.
sacrificed herself for Boyd. She has this loyalty, this beautiful loyalty towards Boyd, unspoken bond. I think the way for her to go would be her sacrificing herself once again for the people,
Yeah.
or for Boyd specifically,
Yeah.
perhaps even Kenny.
Yeah, maybe.
And that
I
would
feel like
close
it's
her storyline in a beautiful way, because she was running away from domestic violence. So she
yeah.
was the victim of violence, right? And
Mhm.
she came to embrace doing something horrific, becoming the nightmare, becoming the violent one,
Yeah.
becoming the killer.
Yeah.
And then she got to the point where she went full circle and embraced, this is who I am, but nobody else has to get hurt. It
Yeah.
stops with me. So
Mhm. Yeah. It's yeah, again, I just, and as you and as Blue says, she's looking for atonement, I think. Yeah. And I do think she will ultimately die saving someone. And I feel it's got to be either Boyd, Kenny, or Ethan. I feel like it doesn't really make much sense for it to be anyone else. It's got to be one of those three. But that's where I see her storyline going. I don't see Sarah surviving the whole show, which I know it is unfortunate. I know just as Star hops on Team Sarah, now we have to worry about Sarah departing. Yeah, no. Remember, I'm Team Sarah now. I mean, don't worry if she does go out. I promise you, she'll go out in a way that is very worthy. I think very, very worthy. And as Nick points out, absolute proof that Marielle has been reincarnated when the children pull out their hair. Yes, I mean, maybe that's where she gets her barber skittles. Very true. Very, very true. But yeah, I think Sarah is. I mean, I don't see plot armor when I look at Sarah. Maybe earlier on, but seeing the kind of trajectory that her character seems to be taking, yeah, I see the very opposite of plot armor when it comes to Sarah, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's one of the characters we lose this season.
mhm.
With
Okay,
none.
and I sent you the email of the child's description.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting to think, why would they do that? And one of
Yeah.
you mentioned
Yeah.
lies. which I think you were kidding, but I think that you might be onto something. The conditions that they were living in could
Mhm.
facilitate to the children being malnourished, living with
Yep.
rats. We see that
Yep.
there's rats down there. Maybe rats, lice, and they did have to pull at their own hair because it was so unkempt. So it could be.
It definitely could be that. Absolutely could be that. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, these kids are severely fooked. They definitely have been through the ringer. That's for sure. That is for sure. One thing I did notice, though, you know how we keep noticing all of these cuts on the Unkui children's forehead, and how we kind of noticed a few of them on the talismans. I mean, on the totems as well. Um, Notice this a while back. Just always forgot to bring it up during the stream because I just always keep forgetting about it. But it looks like another one of our characters in the season 4 trailer has that very same cut on their forehead. I have to play the trailer to find it, I think. All right, let me get the trailer out. Let me get the trailer out. Another character in the trailer has seemingly a very similar cut on their forehead. And I thought that was interesting. People have been pointing out these cuts for a while now. And I always thought that there was really nothing much of it. Part of the sacrifice, maybe part of the ritual that the Ankui children were put through. But then saw this. All right, here we go. Let me pull this up. Here we go. Here we go. When we look at Jim in the season 4 trailer, it looks like he has the similar or same cut right on the same spot of his forehead. Why
Wow.
would Jim have that? I don't know. Did Jim
The
have that cut
interesting
before he died? Like, did the human? I guess we need to go back and look at season 3. Did the human Jim have this cut?
we do need to go back and look at it because I also mistakenly thought that Tabitha, when we saw the trailer,
Yeah, we
Tabitha
saw the
all of a
cuts.
sudden had blood
Yep.
in the same spot. So she has it
Yep.
on her temple and on her chest. And I thought, oh, well, she must have
Yep.
found the body, but she had that cut previously, since before. So we
He
should also look at Jim because he might have just had that.
he.
I think it's a
That's the thing. He
strange
might have just had
decision.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because he did get pretty messed up when the house fell on him. And we all saw that he was not healing very fast. And yeah, Seba says he had it, and he did have the cut as a human, I think. And Susie thinks he had it when he was human as well. Yeah, that's one. I mean, because when I saw that, it instantly just reminded me of all those forehead cuts that we see all the young Kui children have, and some of the totems. And I never went back and checked season 3 to see if human Jim has this cut as well. Because if he does, then it's nothing. Which it might be, which it looks like it is. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to see. Is this really Jim? Is this really Jim's spirit, or is this the man in yellow? I know a lot of people think it's the man in yellow, but I don't know. Part of me almost doesn't want it to be the man in yellow, because then we really have to go back and question every single cameo from every dead character that we've seen on the show since the very beginning. Was Cautry really Cautry? Was Cautry really the man in yellow? Was Tom really Tom? Was Tom really the man in yellow? Abby, the Abby that Boyd sees in season 2, who was that really? Was that really the man in yellow? So if the man in yellow is really disguising himself as Jim, it's definitely going to make us, at the very least, have to go back and look at some scenes and some aspects of the show through a different light, if nothing else.
Yeah, I tend to believe it could be both. So it doesn't necessarily have to be one. Some of the apparitions could have been the men in yellow trying to get some information. That's why the apparitions were interested in asking characters, what are you doing, when it wouldn't matter if you're a ghost. And some of them could have been genuine. We do see that, for example, Boyd's wife contradicts herself. She will say one thing and then say, I was wrong. It's actually this. She'll tell him, give up. Why don't you just give up? What's the point? You're going to get through this, but then you'll have to do it again. She was trying to get him to give up. And Boyd said, no, this is not you. You're not my wife. He even says it, right? He could sense it. So I think it could be both. Some of them could be genuine and others could be the men in yellow. After all, Jade says, maybe when you die in this place, your energy gets trapped there. And I tend to think so. If you can escape, you can't get out of From physically.
Yeah.
I don't see why you could get out of From spiritually when the children are still stuck there. They haven't gone anywhere. They haven't ascended to the next plane. So I think maybe poor Jim is stuck in the forest too, his soul, which
So you
makes
think
me
this
kind
could
of
be
sad
him?
for him.
Okay. So you think this really could be Jim then coming to Ethan?
I think so.
Okay. Interesting.
I think so. It's really sad. And I think
It is
he
sad.
could be helpful to encourage Tabitha. We were talking about this, you and I, when we saw the teaser. But Tabitha is somebody that likes to avoid, right? She likes to avoid things. That's why she
Yeah.
has her famous line of no, 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 no.
Yeah. Always
Once,
no.
always. Once she knows that Jim's life was taken, she sees the writing on the wall, literally. Knowledge comes with a cost. She is less likely to continue on looking for things, for knowledge, if
Yeah.
she's thinking, maybe my children are next. They took my husband because I will not stop looking for answers. What about if my children, which is all I have left, Ethan and Julie, get hurt next? So Jim would be helpful if he was to become an apparition at encouraging her, telling her that it's okay to keep trying. And that's what he was doing. We see that once they kind of started getting along, he encouraged her. He didn't tell her to stop. He said,
Yeah.
I'll help you. We could look for answers together. So
Yeah. True. Very true. Very true. Yeah. It's always been deliberately kind of ambiguous, all of these cameos from all of these freaking dead characters popping up left and right. But yeah, I don't know. I guess if we get a definitive answer as to who this is, if it's really a spirit of Jim that is trapped here, or if it's something else, maybe that'll give us a better picture as to some of the rest of them. But like you said, it could potentially be a mix even. So we really don't know. We don't know until we know. I refuse to believe we still have to deal with Jim. Oh no, Star is not president of the Jim fan club. She might have recently become a fan of Sarah, but Jim is still on the shite list, it seems.
well, I would like to ask you, Star and the chat, all of you in the chat and Star, people who still have not come around on Jim, what would it take? We saw that he really turned around right before he died, which was tragic. He really started to kind of get it. He started to
Yeah.
get Tabitha and he was super loving. What would it take for you to like Jim as a ghost? Let's say that he comes back. Ghost Jim, what does he have to do in order for you to be on his side?
Yeah, can Jim redeem himself to the anti-Jim crowd? I don't know. That's a good question, though. Very good question. I think they keep trying to sacrifice people to get out, even after death. I mean, when we see that big giant massacre in 1978, one could argue that that was one giant sacrifice in a sense, maybe. And I know a lot of people think that there's another one coming along the way, like we have another massacre coming, which we could potentially have. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Jim was the first to say, no. He said it in the RV. Then Tabitha stole it. Boyd also says it. Yeah, this is true. This is true. Tabitha is not the only one that spams no, and no in the chat. There are some other characters. Jim did do it in the RV. I believe when Boyd was like wrestling with him, right? Episode 2, I believe, the beginning of episode 2, when they're in the RV waiting out the monsters. Yeah, I'm sure Boyd has done it too. I'm sure many other characters have done it too. I think Tabitha's just stands out because the sheer volume of no's that she emits and the frequency of those no's. I think it just stands out a little more when it's Tabitha. But yeah, other characters have done it too, for sure. For sure. It would be pretty effed up if the ghost version of Jim is only one with frazzled hair, mad scientist hair, like a bomb went off on his face while the rest look normal.
I love that. You know what? Okay, Justin, you make a great point, because that's something that I noticed immediately, and I told Jeremy, this can be Jim, because
The
Jim
hair's way too nice.
Jim always has like really nice hair. I always thought Jim was very cute. Okay, I've always thought he was super good looking, and his hair has always been on point. When he got into town, he used to wear in like almost like a tiny little ponytail. So he always has had good hair, but here he does look fucked up. He looks like his hair is disheveled, which is unfair that he didn't get any of the glamour. It would be quite unfair, but they've done it, you know. Maybe they don't like Jim either. His
Mhm.
hair does not look like the other ghosts. All the other ghosts, they're
Well,
even
there's
given props. The
there's I
bartender
think
had a
there's
glass.
I think there's a reason why Jim's hair looks different here.
Why?
It's a wig. I think it's a wig. Someone pointed out in the chat, and that's right. I totally forgot. I have this picture. Ian Bailey cut his hair off after Jim got killed. The actor, Ian Bailey, he cut off his hair. So it must be a wig. This was one of the more recent photos of him when he returned to the set for season 4 to film that scene that we're seeing there, I imagine. And it looks like he cut his hair. So that could be a wig. Maybe that's why the hair in the trailer on the Ghost Jim looks so out of sorts, because, you know, for 3 seasons, that was his real hair. But it looks like it could be a wig this season, maybe.
So that was his real hair, and now he cut it, and they're like doing a bad wig. You think?
And they gave him a wig that a
I
wig
mean, it
as
wouldn't be
close
the
to
first time, because they also gave Julie a bad wig. But I don't blame the actors. If I was Jim or Julie, who's gonna have to have a haircut, after seeing what they did to Christy's real hair, I wouldn't let them cut my hair either. I'll be like, you're gonna need to get me a wig, because I'm not cutting it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that could potentially be the explanation, though, maybe for the discrepancy in the hair, why the hair looks so different in the trailer as opposed to Jim's real hair when he was on the show. Could just be a wig, maybe. Maybe it's just a wig.
Where are they grabbing her ear? I'm just looking at Sophia. That's still.
Oh,
And they're like pulling her ear.
it looks like that, but I think they're trying to remove the metal thing from around her neck.
Oh, okay.
We see a
I thought
hand
that was the
here.
monsters or something.
Yeah, I thought it was too. I was wondering what was going on in this shot at first too, but I think this hand. I imagine this is probably Christy, maybe. I think that they're trying to remove this metal piece that's lodged right around her neck. See the metal here, metal here. It looks like some piece of the car is like wedged right around her neck, and they're trying to get it loose. At least I think that's what's going on. I could be wrong.
Makes a lot of sense.
I could be wrong. And there's the good old trusty Bible right there. But yeah, and that's what I mean about, that's what's so fun about this trailer. Even now, after watching this trailer so many times, I'm still finding new stuff every time I watch this trailer, even still today. And that is the mark of a good trailer. That's the mark of a really good, fun trailer that you can really dive into and dissect. When here we are a few weeks later and we're still finding new stuff in it. So that's good. That's always a good sign. Only Ethan is going to see Jim, I think, and that is another question as well. Like if if Jim is returning, which it looks like he is, who is he going to return to? Is it only going to be Ethan, or could Tabitha potentially get a visit from Jim at some point? Could Julie potentially get a visit from Jim at one point? Hell, could Jade get a visit from Jim at one point? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he appears to Tabitha too.
Well, I have a question for you. The ring. So we see in the trailer that in the Matthews house, the new Matthews house, the drawers start to open, the cabinets, and there's a ring that falls out. The ring, is that, do you think, Jim's, or
No,
is that Boyd's wife's ring?
I
Because if
think
it's Jim's, it makes me think that he can't show himself to the entire family, and he's trying to communicate in other ways. Maybe only Ethan will be able to see him. If it's not Jim's ring, then I think we have the potential that he could appear to Julie or to Tabitha.
mhm,
Although I don't think that he would appear to Julie because she's going to be on the quest of trying to save him.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just don't think that she would
true.
have access to the ghost.
Maybe not.
Otherwise, yeah.
Maybe not. No. Um, but no, in terms of the ring, I think this is another example of these trailers being incredibly cleverly edited. Because I thought that was all one continuous scene as well. I thought, we see the scene of the cabinets opening and closing and stuff flying out of them, and then boom, we see the ring. But after going back and kind of taking a closer look, it looks like that's two different scenes. It looks like the ring falls on one of the steps in Colony House. So it looks like they edited that scene to look like it was all one scene, but I think we're going to find out that those are two different scenes. Because when we see the ring drop, it drops on a stair, like on a literal stair. So
Yes,
I
good
think,
point.
yeah, I think the ring thing might be Boyd and Colony House, and I think the cabinet thing might be a separate scene.
So if it's Boyd and Colony House, do you believe the ring to be Boyd's wife's ring?
I mean, maybe. I think it could be. I mean, it seems like Boyd's picking it up. We see Boyd looking at it in the trailer. It looks like he's kind of like very much analyzing it, and it looks like he's analyzing the symbol on it. I mean, could it potentially be that Boyd never knew his wife had that symbol on her ring? It was on the inside after all, and if she never takes her ring off.
Well, I have a question about the symbol. So the symbol, it could be the symbol for reincarnation, but
The
it could
infinity.
also be a very badly done symbol for fish and loaves.
Uh-huh.
So there's a symbol
Yeah,
for fish
very
and
well.
loaves.
And look,
And
very true.
Boyd is Mr. Fish and Loaves. That is how she calls him. So
Yeah.
if they got married, it would make sense. Sometimes when you get married, you engrave something special in your wedding ring, right?
Yes.
From the other person. And so she could have maybe had that engraved because it's Mr. Fish and Loaves, right?
I think that definitely makes sense, PM. I think that actually makes perfect sense because, yeah, when we look at it, it does look like the infinity symbol. But if you look at the fish and loaf symbol, it looks just like the infinity symbol almost. They look very, very similar, that fish and loaf kind of fish symbol. So, no, I think that's an interesting idea that maybe that was something she had engraved on there to, a kind of had it engraved as a homage to Boyd because he is fish and loaves. No, I think that's a very interesting possibility.
Well, and it's very special to them. We know that when she speaks to Sarah, in order to identify herself, she says, Mr. Fish and Loaves. And Sarah says, I don't know. That doesn't even make sense. But she said fish and loaves. And he knew immediately what it was because it was a very special thing between them. So it
Yeah,
makes sense that she would engrave. That's what you do, you engrave like a
yeah,
inside joke or not an inside phrase, something meaningful. So
yeah.
it would make sense that he is looking at it. I don't think because he is seeing it for the first time. I think it's because
Uh-huh.
he is wondering, how did this ring get here
How
if
did it
I
get here?
buried her with it or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that makes perfect sense. I think that could very well be a possibility. Um, yeah, I mean that could be it. I mean, it just pops up on the stair right in front of him. Maybe he's wondering how it got here. But yeah,
Also, when you get a ring, let's say that a ring falls, right? You could question, because memory is your memory goes, right? It's an interesting thing, but like our memory just goes. If you have a ring and it's just a basic gold wedding band, it could fall and you could say, maybe it's my wife's, maybe not. Maybe it could be one of the many, many people that have died here. It could be
yeah,
anybody's.
yeah.
But if it has the fish and loaves, you immediately would know this is my wife's wedding band. So this is a message being sent to him. That is why it's engraved, so that he knows
It's
this
his wife's
is
ring.
not a mistake. This is
Yeah,
not anybody's ring. This is your
yeah.
wife. And I'm scaring
And
you.
and that would perfectly tie into the bracelets that Tabitha makes. The reason why she knew it was the same bracelet
Yes.
because of the imperfections in it that can be identified. So no,
It's
I
their
think that
version, their relationship's
yeah,
version of the bracelet, something so specific that it
yeah.
would make them question, right?
No,
So yeah, solved it. We
I
solved
like
it.
that. I like that. I think that's a real possibility. I do. I like that. It's a good idea. It's a really good idea, PM. Um, is the book, the Chronocle, a real book or from fiction book? It's a from fiction book. We tried to look it up early on during season one, and we searched high and low, and from the best that we could tell, the Chronocle isn't a real book that exists in our world. It's a book in the From world. Yes. But there is a book that exists in our world that is called, I believe it's called Through the Faraway Tree. And it's a book about magic trees that can teleport people, I believe. So that was a fun little, interesting little tidbit, wondering if maybe that book was served as some inspiration for the faraway trees that we see on the show. But no, as far as I could tell from the research that I did back in the day, the Chronocle is a from fiction book.
Mhm. Yeah, people look for it extensively and they couldn't come up with anything other than it
Yeah.
resembles historically an image that was used in the time of slavery, because it has that monster-like figure. But other than that, they couldn't. And also, what's interesting is that he mentions the Kramanako and says he. And then Ethan mentions the Kramanako again and says she.
Yeah.
He is
Mhm.
going to save whoever.
Yeah.
So people also question that. Is it two Kramanakos or is the book about one of them? Why does it, or is it, well, maybe it's fluid, right?
Maybe,
Maybe I
yeah.
shouldn't ask that question. Maybe it identifies as a fluid entity.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I mean, one thing is for sure, Michael, we are back. We are back in full effect. From is back, ladies and gentlemen. It is. Damn, I wonder if Tabitha's signature "no, no, no" is reminder from her first life in the moment Jade and Tabitha discovering the children sacrificed reached the kids to like it, too late, like. That's an interesting idea. Like it's something that's kind of ingrained in all of these incarnations, where she's just naturally saying no, 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 as a reflex, almost as a kind of subconsciously kind of saying no, no, no to sacrifice the children. That's interesting. It's an interesting idea. Who knows? Who knows what kind of and that's the thing I always wonder about this reincarnation thing. How much of the previous incarnation or how much of the original parents personality traits get carried over into the next reincarnation? I guess that's an interesting question I've always had. How different are these reincarnations from the last? Are they all very similar in temperament? Do they all have like the same temper? Do they all have similar character traits? Or are they all just completely different individuals that just happen to hail or descend from one original person? I guess that's one question I've always wondered, because we don't really know a whole lot about Miranda's personality really yet. We don't really know exactly the kind of person she was. We know that she was pretty wild when she was young. I mean, taking acid and stuff like that. But yeah, I've always wondered how much how much carries over from one reincarnation to the next, or is it just completely a different person? I mean, it seems like Tabitha and Miranda are two totally different people, but we don't really know too much about Miranda yet.
Well, we need to gather more information as to reincarnation and souls.
Yeah.
If you look at reincarnation and the theory of it, there is no theory just out in the world, not in From, but if you search up reincarnation, there is no rule where people believe that you reincarnate into the same sex. You often are said to reincarnate into different people. If you're a woman, you may reincarnate into a man in the next life. All sorts of different things, right? When you look at the couples, Tabitha does not resemble Miranda, but who does resemble some of the traits that Miranda is said to have is Jade. Jade is down to experiment with drugs, to try different things. He also was the person that, played the piano. That's why he picked up the Victor's mother's piano, stole it because he wanted to play it. Maybe he was drawn to the instrument because maybe Jade was Miranda and Tabitha was Christopher. Tabitha, she resembles Christopher more in the way that the boy in white literally told Christopher, "This is what it is, dude. You need to go over there. You need to save the children." And what did Christopher do? He said, "No, no, you're lying. Everything lies." He refused to do it. That sounds more like Tabitha. That sounds more like Tabitha's approach of not being down to entertain fantastical ideas. Whereas Jade, when he came into the town, he was like all messed up on I don't know what drug, but he was partying, right?
Yeah.
And he was also, smoking weed and open to these sort of things. That was more like Miranda is described to be. They described it as they used to do acid, right? She enjoyed that. It was an activity she liked. And they even sent Victor and the sister away to grandma so that they could trip on acid. So
Yeah,
she
well,
was into more fantastical sort of things.
Yeah. No, and I think that's an interesting idea. I think it's an interesting possibility. I tend to think Jade was Christopher just because of the whole symbol thing, how Christopher was seeing the symbol, plagued by the symbol. Now Jade seeing the symbol, plagued by the symbol. And we did hear Tabitha say that I was Miranda and Jade was
I
Christopher.
just remember that. He literally told us verbatim, I was Miranda. So never mind, Jeremy. Thank you for killing my dream.
I'm sorry. I don't want to kill any dreams. I do not want to kill any dreams.
Dream killer.
But then again, you never know what's going on with Fromville. I mean, could even Tabitha be remembering wrong? We still don't. I get the feeling Tabitha and Jade haven't remembered everything yet. It seems like they got a big portion of answers. But if Jade's going down into the caves, I have to imagine it's because he's searching more answers. So I get the feeling they don't know everything yet. But who knows? But I think just for a way to keep it simple, Jade being Christopher and Tabitha being Miranda is just, it's cleaner, it's simpler. And I think it's just easier for the audience, especially with that line that we got from Tabitha. But I don't know. You never know with this friggin' show where it's going to go, what they're going to do, or who we're going to see. Chrononothal just means hero's journey. And that is basically the whole gist of Ethan's stories. Yes. And that's what Ethan likes. He likes diving into the whole fantasy style hero's journey. And that is basically the story of the Chromonacle. It's a hero's journey. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing on From, a hero's journey. We are seeing a hero's journey play out here on From. Only we don't have one set protagonist hero. We have multiple. We have Boyd, we have Jade, we have Tabitha, we have Victor, we have Ethan, Julie. So yeah, we're very much seeing the hero's journey play out.
You guys are so funny. Beehive Girl. Do you see the comment from Beehive Girl in the chat?
Which one? Let me see. Why did Miranda choose nighttime to haul ass to that tree? Seems like it's not the time of day for that. I mean, you bring up a very good point, Beehive Girl. I mean, yes, we see Miranda just huffing it through the fucking woods in the middle of the fucking night. Like, what are you doing? Why don't you wait till daytime? Although one thing that I do always kind of like to think back, when we see that scene of Miranda in the root cellar with young Victor and young Eloise, when we see Miranda leave and then we see Eloise chase after her, it's light out. So when Miranda leaves, it looks like when she leaves, it was light out, but she finds herself stuck out there in the forest when it gets dark. Maybe she was having trouble finding the right faraway tree, I'm wondering, because she wasn't directed to go there at the end of the day. At the end of the day, the boy in white was telling Christopher to go there. Victor overheard the story and told it to his mother, but how would Miranda know how to find the tree? Maybe she got lost trying to find it. Maybe maybe it was further than she thought it was and she got stuck out there at night or something. But yeah, she was out there in the dead of night and it cost her her life.
You're so funny, Beehive Girl.
And
And the chat has their theories. She did like getting high, and Colony House is known for people getting high. Maybe she was high when she was told, your child comes up to you, tells you, hey, you have to go to the tree. She was running around like she was crazy. So yeah, maybe. But that is a very good point. Why choose exactly that night? She could have waited till the morning if you're told the information, right? Unless it
Well,
was
and
vital, unless you were told everybody will be slaughtered tonight. That's the only reason why you would leave your children alone.
Exactly what I was just about to say. Like maybe she had some kind of foreknowledge of this massacre coming, and maybe that's why she told them to hide somewhere where Christopher couldn't find them. Maybe through Christopher, she found out about the massacre that was coming. But yeah, I mean, we really need we need a much better look at that night, the night of the 1978 massacre. It seemed like so much happened that night. So much of our story really started right there, the night of that 1978 massacre, where you have Victor, the sole survivor. You have the massacre itself happening. You have Miranda taking off trying to save the children. You have Eloise disappearing into thin air. So much happened that night of that 1978 massacre. We need to return to that moment at some point. And I'm hoping that's where Julie will come in. And I'm really hoping we'll see that theme kind of continue a lot on the show, where Julie will be traveling to some of these past events, and that's how we're going to get our answers. That's how we're going to actually see what happened instead of just hearing about what happened like we heard from Fatima. We need to actually see it with our own eyes, what really happened. And I think Julie's story walking capability is the perfect kind of narrative tool for them to show us that as an audience, if Julie goes back to some of these events. Because again, so much happened on that night of that 1978 massacre. We need a better, clearer picture as to what really happened.
Exactly. I love Golden Child Productions comment here, and it very well could be. Perhaps when you think about it, right? She knew about the monsters, but she was also distrustful of Christopher. She
Yeah.
specifically tells Victor, do not, open the door for Christopher, or do not, stay away from him.
Yeah.
So could it be that the massacre comes once you remember? Did Christopher and Miranda remember what they did? And that's why the time, they were running out of time. Is the men in yellow the one that makes the massacre happen? Is that what's going to happen when we open the season? Season 4 is going to open with the massacre, and that's his favorite part.
Mhm.
It had to be something extremely important for her to choose that to be the moment that she goes. Also, if it's only you and your children, you would take them with you everywhere. You wouldn't risk leaving them without a mother, right? You don't have anybody else that could take care of them. So I don't know, you would probably wait until the morning and then take them with you and be very cautious about it so that you know exactly where they're at. Although, like some of you guys have mentioned in the chat, Miranda seemed to be very lenient. She allowed the children to roam around the town and play hide and seek.
Yeah. Yeah.
Victor says, like, we used to hide in the church and in the houses. Why
Yeah.
would you allow your children to play hide and seek when there's all kinds of things that could kill your children, right? This is
Mhm.
before the talismans, because Boyd is the one that found the talismans.
Maybe I mean, maybe it could have potentially been during a time where they only thought they had the monsters to deal with, and they figured since the monsters don't come out during the day, the kids can play hide and seek during the day. Maybe, I don't know.
It's
Maybe they
crazy.
didn't. Yeah, maybe they didn't realize what other dangers were out there waiting for them, even during the daytime. But no, I'm with you. I wouldn't have my kids playing hide and seek in Fromville, talisman or no talisman. Fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, what was
Mhm.
she doing? I need to know more about Miranda.
Yeah.
And now that Tabitha knows that she is Miranda,
Yep.
we used to say it as a joke, but now it's true, right? We're gonna open the season, and she has her husband, Victor's father, there. Also, her original partner, Jade. Jim died, so that took care of that because a lot of people were thinking she's gonna open the season with three husbands or something, right? So it's
Mhm.
going to be two husbands. But also, when you look at the children, she is the mother of so many. And from at this point, she has Ethan and Julie to worry about, living children. But now she
Mhm.
also knows that she is the mother of the missing Eloise and of the, I don't know, dead spirit child, Ankui child. So she has one that's like the soul is there, a missing daughter, the dead son that we know of, and then the two living. That's a lot of children, and they're all going in different directions. If you try to save one, so your original child, you might be putting at risk the living. So it's going to be interesting to see how she balances being the mother to all of them.
Mhm. Yeah, it will be interesting to see if she, like how she even views it. Like how is she going to view it? Is she going to even view it as Eloise as her daughter, or is she going to just still view it as Eloise as Miranda's daughter? My kids are Ethan and Julie. I guess it's going to be
But
interesting to see how she's going to view all of it.
mhm. Victor, yes, Victor. I forgot to mention Victor.
Victor
She
too,
is
yeah,
Victor's
Victor
mother.
too, yeah, yeah.
When she remembered, and she was going through the process of living what Miranda went through. If
Yep.
you remember, we had that scene where she kind of lets go of
Yes.
Julie and
She,
embraces. She's like reaching out for Victor, and Victor's almost freaked out, and
yeah.
she's like wanting to hug him. So
And
it
it's like
seems
she
like
pushes Julie away almost.
yes, but she wants, right? She's expressing this love for her son Victor. So something tells me if she was just remembering that and she had this love and affection for her child Victor, maybe that love and affection will remain. It'll be there for Julie, Ethan, Victor, Eloise, and the
Mm,
Ankui child, which is a
maybe.
lot of children.
It's a lot of
She's
children.
a
A
single mother
lot.
to a lot of kids.
She just became the single mom to like tons of kids overnight. It's a tough deal. But no, I guess that'll be interesting to see how she approaches that. Yeah, that'll be fun. Um, Will is asking the Fromily, what do y'all think about the children? Did they live a normal life and at a specific age? That's when the ritual started, or did the parents have a pact to give first child to the man in yellow / Rumpelstiltskin, or whoever was in charge of this sacrifice? And that is a question that we've also wondered ourselves. Like, were the children born with the specific purpose to be sacrificed? Is that why they were born in the dark, were kept in the dark, and died in the dark? Because the only reason these children were born was for the sacrifice? Or were these children born and lived a normal life, and then at a certain age the sacrifice happened? And again, for me, I kind of always just go back to their appearance and that one line that we get in season 3 in terms of the boy in white saying that the children were born in the dark, lived in the dark, and died in the dark. That tells me that these children might have been born for the sole purpose of being sacrificed, maybe.
Mhm.
But who knows? Maybe they did live a normal life for a few years.
Yeah, and it could have been. I like that you mentioned if they were also kind of like the firstborn, right? This idea of Rumpelstiltskin. Historically, there have been civilizations that believe that certain children have been chosen and that is their destiny. Either their destiny to be the leaders of the religion. Children get chosen very young and they say, oh, this is the next god, goddess reincarnated in some cultures. But for many reasons, even for sacrifice. So it could have been, nothing tells us that they lived their entire life in the dark. It could have been that ritualistically in this community, when you give birth in the dark for whatever reason, whether it's religious or just traditionally. And it could have been just like Rumpelstiltskin, where you get chosen. Your family has to give one of your children. So they're born in the dark, they live out their life, and then at a certain age, they're sacrificed. And they have to be sacrificed once again in the dark. They didn't say they remain there. We see them in a cage, but potentially they were in a cage to keep them from escaping because they had a
Mm,
normal life and
could
they
be.
had to teach them, right?
Could
Uh,
be.
if you have a child that has been conditioned to live in a cave
Oof.
and they've never seen the sun,
Mm.
they lived there their entire life, you wouldn't so much need for a cage because they would have been
They'd be
conditioned to
conditioned.
assume that
Yeah.
it is normal, that
Good
this is
point.
how they live. You cage somebody that might want to run away.
You cage someone that has a notion of what freedom is. You
Of
don't cage
outside.
exactly. You don't if someone doesn't even have a notion of what freedom is on the outside, then yeah, is there even a need to put them in a cage? So that is a good point you bring up.
Mhm.
So yeah, I suppose, I mean, we don't really have a definitive answer on that one way or another, but I think that's why it's always been a fascinating question and discussion. Were these children just born to get sacrificed, or did they live a normal life and then it happened? Again, there's at least evidence pointing to both. So yeah, hopefully we get that answer. But no, I think that's a really good point you bring up. That why throw them in cages unless there was a chance that they would try to escape?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of in philosophy there is a thought experiment of the shadows in the cave.
Mhm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you're familiar with it, but it's very popular, of
Mhm.
people who live in a cave and all they see, they never go outside, is shadows on the
Yeah.
wall. And they assume that the shadows are gods because
Mhm.
they never venture out. So whatever the shadows do is what they, tend to believe the world is like until
Yeah.
somebody decides to venture out and see that it's not what they thought it was. Um, but that tells us that when you're conditioned to think this is all there is, rarely do you venture out to find more. So the children, especially being so young, if they were kept there their entire lives, they would not fight you to get out.
Yeah.
But when we see the child that's caged, she almost hisses, right? If you remember the scene, we see her because they have a flashlight. She is in
Yeah.
a cage and she
Yeah.
hisses at them.
It almost looked
So
like she did kind of. I mean, like when we
there's
first saw her,
defiance.
it did almost look a little menacing the first time we saw her on Cooey Child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is this defiance. Yes, Plato's allegory of the cave, indeed. So
That's
there's
it.
this defiance in that child that tells me she knows of outside. She knows of I don't want to be inside the
Uh-huh.
cage. She knows potentially something bad's about to happen. Maybe they were aware
Mhm.
of what was to come. And so they were scared. Maybe the hair pulling, which I sent you the email, maybe they did pull their own hair out because they knew that what was approaching was death and they were just terrified. Could be.
Mhm. I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility. I definitely think that's a possibility. And seeing as we're at the point here where we still really don't know, like we don't know definitively one way or another. So yeah, like as Sherry says, yeah, I think that's totally possible. Absolutely. And as you mentioned, there's evidence that points to it even. So yeah, I mean, and again, I really hope that this is going to be the season where we do start getting some of these answers. Some of these type answers that we are looking for, answers that are nice but aren't super big to the point where they're giving away all the mysteries of the show. Some of these smaller stuff. I'm really hoping season 4 will knock out a lot of that, and we'll get a lot of those kind of answers, even if we don't get the big ones until season 5. But yeah, that's always been a very interesting question. Did they live their whole lives in those caves or not? Again, a lot of good evidence pointing to both, for sure. For sure. But man, 1 month away now, guys. Here we are, just 1 month away. It is officially Sunday. We are just a few more Sundays away until From Season 4 hits our screens. And if From Season 4 follows the same format that it has from all the previous seasons, then that means the episodes should be dropping at midnight on Saturday night. Not usually for everyone else, for people who don't have MGM Plus or don't have Amazon Prime, people who watch From on the actual MGM channel, it airs there on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night is when that airs. But if you are an MGM app subscriber, usually we get access to the episode a little bit early. We get access to it right after midnight on Saturday night. So if that is going to be the same format that they're going to follow for season 4, then we will do our late night watch parties like we did for season 3 and like we did for season 2. When the episode drops right after midnight or 3 a.m. Eastern, I believe sometimes it's either midnight Eastern or midnight Pacific time, one of those. But if memory serves, I do believe I remember it being midnight Eastern Standard Time is when they usually drop. But if they do follow that same format again this year, we'll probably do our same late night watch parties because some people don't like waiting until Sunday night to watch the episode, especially if you're an MGM Plus member. We've been waiting for so freaking long. So if it drops that night right there right after midnight, we will do a late night live watch party as soon as the episode's available. I hope it's Eastern. I believe it's Eastern. It was Eastern last year. Because I do remember us setting up those streams. I remember I would set up a stream for 11 p.m. We would hang out for an hour or so, and then boom, the episode would be available at midnight. So every other season, it has been midnight Eastern Standard Time. So I hope they follow that same format. And again, if they do, we will do a nice late night watch party right when the episode drops. So hopefully it'll be Eastern Standard Time like it usually is.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. I love that. Usually it's Sunday, but it was Saturday for us here.
Yeah.
It was 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love Jeremy, but he would be talking and I would like hang up. I'm like, be quiet, Jeremy. And I would run to watch the show like immediately,
Yeah.
8:59, waiting.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I mean, it's so fun. I can't wait for the show to come back. Like, I genuinely do have such a fun time watching and discussing the show with all of you guys. And yeah, that's what we'll do. That is definitely what we'll do. We will definitely have some fun watch parties. And yeah, if the episode drops right there, right after midnight Saturday night, then yes, best believe we will be doing the watch party right then and there. And yes, Lord Ravener will be joining us. I am going to be doing some streams with Ravener as well. So I'm going to be doing probably 2 or 3 streams a week. PM and I will be live every Sunday like we always are. And me and Ravener will pick a day where I do one with him during the week as well, because I know he's probably going to want to be talking about it. And yeah, I'll definitely have Ravener on here as well. So yeah, we're going to be doing tons of From content here on the channel. You guys know how we do. Same thing that we do every year. Plenty of streams, plenty of videos that we'll be doing, watch parties, giveaways, the whole shebang, like we always do. And I will organize another giveaway at some point for season 4. We did a really fun giveaway last year where we gave away tons of 3D printed talismans and stuff, thanks to the awesome Nick in the chat who 3D printed all of it for us. So we'll probably do something again like that during season 4 at some point, where we do another trivia giveaway. We did it trivia style last year, where the person who answers the trivia question right the fastest is the winner. And we gave out talismans, we gave out From t-shirts, From keychains, all kinds of stuff. So we'll probably do another event like that at some point in season 4, maybe at some point, maybe midway through the season, I'm thinking. We'll probably do something right around there where we do another trivia From giveaway stream, and I'll get some more 3D printed talismans, which are really cool.
I still have mine, and I got a t-shirt. Nick, the giveaway was so cool with Nick and Dana Marie put the rope around it and send them out. Dana Marie from the Witch's Brew. And the t-shirts, I got a keychain too. So yeah,
they're legit. The talismans are exact replicas of the ones that we see in the show. Like every single symbol is the exact same symbol as the ones on the show. It's an exact replica, symbol for symbol.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and I love that Dana added the rope, because
the rope,
the talisman looks just like it, but when
you
you
can
look
hang it
at
up.
the show, they have it from a rope that looks just like that, like exactly like that. I have it in my front door.
Yeah, I have one I have one here for display, but I have my other one literally hanging on my wall in my room. Literally.
Yeah, I love them.
But yeah, that was fun, and that was really cool. And you know, Nick hand painted them himself and all that to make them look like the talisman rock kind of texture. And they came out great. I think a lot of people were really happy with these last year. So we'll do something similar to this at some point in season 4, probably somewhere midway through the season. We'll do another From trivia giveaway, and I'll print out as many of these as I can. And yeah, we'll have a trivia From giveaway stream. Last year's was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun doing that. Yeah, I need a keychain too. I need me a keychain. That was one of the few things I didn't actually get last year, and I saw how cool those keychains look. They look freaking awesome. So yeah, we're definitely going to set something like that up at some point for, again, probably midway through the season. We'll have it set up by. But yeah, that was fun. Loved doing the giveaway, and it just feels really good that From's back. Here we are. We're just a month away now, and we'll be here every single Sunday. We'll be going live, diving into all things from season 4, talking theories, predictions, dissecting the trailer, and much more. And we will ride this last month out together until April 19th arrives, and we officially return back to Fromville. Hope you guys are ready.
So ready. Oh my God, so ready. That's going to be like an amazing day. I'm going to create a whole celebration of it.
Me too. It's going to be a whole big event, especially episode 1. It's going to be one big giant event, especially if the episodes do drop right after midnight like they usually do. I'm going to go live. I'll probably go live at a couple hours before it drops. We'll do a nice live pregame show. We'll do some trivia. We'll make a big event of it while we wait for episode 1 to officially drop. Then when it does drop, we will do a live watch party right here on YouTube. And we'll do our YouTube format like we usually do, where we all just hit play at the same time and watch it together. And then Sunday night, we'll do an encore watch party as well, where we dive into it and discuss it afterwards. So yeah, it'll be fun. We'll make a nice big event of it like we usually do.
Yeah, we need to dress like our favorite character.
Yeah. I guess I gotta get me a jade beard then. Get me a jade beard.
Jade and that cat shirt. You need to find that cat
And
shirt
the
and
cat
those
shirt.
in.
And the cat shirt, yes. Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, that is going to do it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate everybody for coming out and hanging out with us this evening. Huge thank you to all of the super chatters and everyone who got memberships tonight. Big shout out to Justin, Kiwi, David Riley, Mick Light, Katrina, Katie Joe, Nikki Panda. Thank you for all the super chats. Very much appreciate all of the support, you guys. Cannot thank you enough. And yeah, keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers. And of course, before you head out, dive into the description of this stream and head over and give PM Philosophy a sub. PM's working on some awesome From content right now. You guys are not going to want to miss out on that. So give her a sub, check out her channel, and be on the lookout for her newest content that will be coming soon.
Yes, thank you. And no, Justin, I do not need a screwdriver. It's not Sarah. It's going to be like our wedding, Jeremy and I's wedding. We're going to do it from theme, and it's going to be in our favorite characters. We're going to dress like them. Yeah. And he's going to dress like Jade, and I'm going to dress like Boyd. I'm going to be wearing a Boyd's yellow shirt, the jeans. I'm going to perm my hair like a little afro, and then a black blazer as I walk down the aisle. That's what I'm going to dress up as. I'm going to dress up as
I love it.
That's my favorite character above all.
Love it. Yeah. Love that. And yeah, well, invites to all the chat, they can come in their favorite From uniforms.
Like, you guys could dress like the 1950s monster.
Or the Uncouey children, maybe even.
Or the Uncouey children. No, they will be the flower children, you know?
Yeah, the flower Uncouey children. We're crazy. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, big thank you again for hanging out with us on this fine Sunday evening. And again, head over there, give PM a sub if you haven't already. Check out some of her From content. She'll be doing some awesome stuff during season 4 as well. And we will see you guys on the next one. Cheers.
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Uncouey.
Something's different. I am changing. I don't know if I like who I'm becoming.
Boyd, there are a lot of people wanting to know what happened down there.
Where's Dad? Why isn't he back yet?
Tabitha, we need to talk. It means everything they show us. It's real. I think they're doing it to make us afraid.
Well, then it worked. There is something ancient here. And it's feeding off our suffering, and it doesn't stop.
We're losing. We're running out of time, and we still don't know the goddamn rules. There is no way to fight back against those things. Everything we've done, every sacrifice we've made, none of us are going anywhere.
You think you're some kind of hero? You're a monster.
Lord, please protect us in this dark place where evil roams so freely. This we ask in your name. Amen.
One way or another, the truth always comes out.
I would make sure it doesn't.